the Spring 2025 ESC Champions, hosted here at Miami University. I'm Zachary Goins, aka Maito, and joining me here today is
Devin, the Doc O'Connor, and we got a banger of a series today. It's going to be Eastern Michigan versus first-seeded Ball State. Definitely going to be a pretty interesting one. Ball State definitely coming in as the favorite, but I think upsets are totally possible, especially in this type of environment. You know, teams have traveled to be here. They've worked hard. They've played so many regular season matches against each other, so definitely looking for an exciting game today.
I think today is going to be super exciting. Just because EMU does have that game played from yesterday. I think Ball State's going to be able to go in with a little bit more knowledge than EMU, which kind of is a little upsetting. But you're that high seed, you get the buys, so that's just one of those advantages you're going to find yourself having. But still, I think today is going to be a really good match. I think EMU definitely has the potential to at least take one map off of Ball State.
Yeah, maybe, if not more. One would hope. I think, like you said, I mean, that's just kind of how the game goes. Obviously, Ball State gets the advantage, winning all their games and going undefeated in the regular season. Definitely a very formidable opponent. One thing to note, yeah, like you said, while Ball State did get the opportunity to do a bit more scouting in terms of seeing a lot of what Eastern Michigan might have to offer in their first game, that means the other side of that coin is essentially that Eastern Michigan has been warmed up already.
Yeah.
They had a competitive series. They had a game on stage per se where they were in the same kind of environment that they're going to be in today. Albeit, they're up against what is arguably, at least on paper, the best team that we have here in the ESC going into these semifinals. So I'm curious to see what they can do since they've already kind of had this little opportunity to really express what they can do. So.
Yeah. Ball State, you said they're great on paper. They're great in practice too. Let's be real. They just shown, like you said, undefeatable season. So it's really going to be EMU, this underdog today. And looking at what they had when they were facing against NIU yesterday, I like the stress that they were kind of imploring there, where they had that range top laner. They were trying to get an advantage top lane early, get that wave pushed in, and get Prio on the Void Grubs, which really sealed the deal for them, I feel like, in a lot of games, because they do really good at finding ways to pressure towers, whether that be from taking NIU's attention and putting it towards, let's say, like Drake, have that top laner or someone in that top lane push in the wave, get a tower, get another tower. So even if NIU win the fight, maybe they take the drag, they still lose out on 2 turrets. Now they have to focus on that for the next objective, and it just starts to snowball.
Yeah, definitely, and matching him in this top lane is going to be Silk Flannel, the top laner of Ball State. Incredibly talented player. We matched up against him, we as in Miami, the last game of the regular season, and he was phenomenal. He played Fiora to great effect, and definitely going to be a pick that I'm looking out for. I mean, you mentioned range top laner. I'm curious to see what he pulls out. If that is something that gets locked in, because to me, range top laner is always going to be a game of spacing. If you can kind of weave in auto attacks without being punished and getting that chip damage in, because range top laners, while they are regarded by a lot of players as really annoying to play against, they can be definitely exploited by a really talented player like Silk Flannel. So it is a bit of a gamble. It could pay off, but it could also spell the end of an entire laning phase.
Yeah, that's something you really have to be worried about. And you talk about thinking, what are they going to do against that? How are they going to be able to punish that? And Fiora as a pick might be able to find that if they were to go something. I feel like with Lucian, just kind of has that dash to try to get away. And meanwhile with Vayne, if they decide to go with that, they're able to back up a little bit faster. They have the E, which is ultimately, I think, knocks them farther back. But if playing Fiora can be parried. So yeah. I think Fiora wouldn't be a terrible option to see here, but
some of the other champs would be to watch out for, maybe Rumble, match the range top with an Aurora top lane for Silk Flannel, Renekton, Trundle. These are all picks that could possibly be pulled out here, so definitely want to keep an eye on that. Yeah, so definitely picks to watch. It depends. I'm not entirely sure which support is going to be subbing in for Ball State, but if it is Quokka, that is a pick to definitely watch out for would be Pike. loves to roam, loves to have pressure on the entire map, and it is definitely something to be wary of as an EMU player, because even with the kind of the lane swapping dynamic and everything that Riot has tried, you should definitely still be cognizant of the potential for this guy to really be anywhere. Because once those a few minutes pass, that lane swap penalty is gone, he's unleashed on the map. So definitely keep an eye out for that one. Some of the other notable picks, mid lane, Victor Aurora is another one that we might see flex mid lane. There's plenty of other things that they could look to make this really interesting. Jungle as well is something to keep an eye on. That'll be an interesting matchup if they do. What did we see from EMU that stood out to you yesterday?
What stood out for me and you yesterday, I mean, just kind of looking through what they went with every time, we saw the Wukong and the Nocturne, 2 games out of the 4 each, and I was really impressed with the Nocturne. I like the Nocturne very much so, just to be like, okay, they're pushed up, and assuming Ball State has, really good ways to be able to take over the lane, take the wave, start getting those pushed under towers so that they can try to back, that leaves a pretty good opportunity for Nocturne, who doesn't need to be super close to try to make those ganks. And if they're so close to the tower, it's going to be hard for those Ball State laners to make it back to their own.
Yeah, for sure. I think that another pick to watch out for, I feel like the real star of the show for me, I have saved the best for last, is Alley playing. It would be Ball State's ADC, incredibly talented player, challenger at least, has been like ranked 60 floating around there on the North American ladder, so really prolific player. Plays a lot of like Varus, Kaisa, Jinx, like champs where you can kind of dip, dodge, and dive around these team fights, and that's definitely something that you're going to want to avoid if you're EMU. Make sure this guy doesn't get the space to deal damage, because if he's allowed to free hit, that's just game. So definitely keep an eye on that, audience, because this guy is capable of a lot of really cool stuff, and it's going to be interesting to watch him play today. I think we're going to do a quick break really quick, and we'll get back to you with the games really soon.
Just pretend like we're frozen.
Yeah.
It's not working.
It's not working. Well, hopefully it'll be headed to us soon. We'll see.
We're hanging out though.
Yeah, we
Having
are.
a good time.
It's a nice day. Well, not really. It's pretty gloomy here
It's not
in
an awful day.
Oxford, Ohio. But yeah, hopefully we will get to the series soon as we wait here for draft. I know that we were having some issues with the lobby.
Is what it is. I guess we could talk a little bit more. We talked a lot about Ball State picks, not necessarily bans. So I guess we can take a look over on that flip side. We talked a little about that jungle. We talked about that top laner, but we haven't really got to touch on the mid and the bot lane. The bot line in itself, we saw Ash get played those first 2 games. Looking at the last 2, we got Ash played the first 3 games for EMU. So if Ball State see that and they're like, we just want to take away comfort picks, that would actually be a really good ban. They ended up going with the Lucian in the last game. I think that might have been, they're picking the Lucian just in case they decide, okay, let's use it top. But it can be flexed, and that's kind of the benefit if you want to try to run a range top. If you realize it's not going to work with what they're going, you can swap that already to the bot laner. So it's not a bad strat. We also see Braum and Nautilus for the most part with the support for EMU. We saw Lulu the first game, and that might be not necessarily what they want to go if the Pyke makes it through. I mean, you have the polymorph, but the time he gets the hook off and the E, you're already going to be done for. It's not going to stop the ability from going through. So stick to the Braum, stick to the Nautilus, something tankier to where you can really just kind of go back and forth with fights.
Yeah, so we'll see what Miami decides to do ESU decides to respond. Definitely a lot of threats on this Ball State University roster, if that wasn't evident enough. They have so much depth in their champion pools, pretty much across the board. So it's going to be hard to address a lot of these difficulties in draft. There are certain champions that I think are definitely going to want to pick up a ban, but it's really going to come down to, I think, a little bit of trial and error. You might have to play a game and kind of experience what it's like before you start to make some really big changes in these drafting phases. So I'm curious to see how Eastern Michigan can adapt, how Ball State can change their approach if needed to make sure that they're coming out on top here today. Because they're definitely looking to make it to that finals tomorrow, which will be something to behold.
That it will. EMU first strat they might want to pull out. They know they're the underdogs here. Maybe we don't see this exactly go through at all. Maybe they want to go with scaling champions and just try to draw that game out, allowing them to just end up being a little bit more powerful. Let's say we get like 30 minutes in, they pick up like a Victor, a Syndra, someone that's just going to deal so much damage in that late game that even if they just sat back and farmed, didn't get any kills, is going to be an absolute menace. And I feel like we've seen a lot of low kill games with yesterday's matches, just because it was a lot of focus on getting the objectives, getting waves pushed in, and they were like, okay, we don't have the best team to fight with right now, so we give up this objective. Next objective, same thing happens, whichever team, just give it up. So it's really going to be about how good they are at CSing, and if they can actually push in waves well. That's why that top lane, I feel like, is going to be a big decider for this game. EMU, like I said, did so good when they got all 6 of those Void Grubs that I think that's going to give them the best chance of winning here. Because if EMU does decide, okay, we'll give Void Grubs, we're Gold Drake, we'll go try to take Drakes, that's going to be your opportunity. Hurry up, push the waves in, try to get as much tower playing as possible, and try to scale and win the game through that.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's maybe a different approach that you could take, because when you try and think about approaching these players head on, it's definitely something that seems very daunting. So maybe taking the approach, sitting back, maybe not going for super big fights, just scaling, doing your best to maintain pressure on the map, not giving too many objectives, because that's really going to be the crucial thing that might decide if you pick a really slow comp that takes some time to get online. You definitely lose a lot of early game pressure for those objectives, like the Void Grubs that you mentioned, that definitely will play or have a part to play in this series. So we'll see how Eastern Michigan decides to navigate that, because there's a lot of questions still that I am interested to see how they will answer. But yeah, I think we're still waiting for the draft spectate to start. But in the meantime, why don't I ask you, how do you feel about Oxford, Ohio? I know this is it your first time here? I think it is.
It is my first time here. I was gonna email one of the professors here because I've been looking at like grad school, and I was just like, I feel like I might not have enough time. I don't want to like be like, hey, I can only meet in the morning on Friday.
And it's a weekend. That makes it tough for you.
Yeah. So I was like, maybe another time. I'll at least go check out the campus. Beautiful. It is a very nice campus. There's the little Grubhub box.
Yeah, we got the little Starship robots. I don't know if you've ever seen them, audience, but they're around some college campuses. They're like adorable. They are like these little, like almost like Moonlander type things that deliver food around campus, and they're really cute. They have to wait at the crosswalk and cross the road. So that's always a nice addition when you're walking around the campus. And while it has been a bit dreary, we've experienced a lot of rain in the past few days. I think it speaks to Miami's ability to still shine through all of that. There's so much beauty in the campus, despite the absence of sunlight.
Yeah. You don't need the sun.
Yeah, definitely an optional.
If you want to tell the story about the Valentine's Day bot.
Right.
I think this might impress a lot of people.
I let you know about this yesterday, but for our audience here, it was Valentine's Day, and I was like, well, it's early in the morning. I'll order Starbucks. It's a fun day, and I put in the order, and the robot, sure enough, rolled up 10 minutes later. And it said, "You have beautiful eyes," and it made my day. So I definitely something that was very memorable that's happened to me on this Miami campus. Yeah, and before that I didn't even know they could talk. So it was definitely something that was a bit of a shock to me, but a welcome surprise, because it was a nice compliment, you know. I appreciate it. It may be a little creepy because I don't know if there's a guy in a basement somewhere, you know, like
Oh my gosh,
figuring
it's
out
a dude.
what it's gonna. Yeah, it's just a guy like monitoring all the robots, and you can see the camera, and he's like, this guy has nice eyes.
He's
But
on
one would hope that you know, maybe it was just a genuine you know, spur of the moment thing. It was Valentine's Day, so yeah, hopefully we will be jumping into games soon. Maybe we can try and go to break again. We will see. So maybe we can shoot to a break now.
Maybe. If not,
Maybe not.
we're hanging out.
We have more to talk about. Don't worry, it's
Yeah,
cool.
we
We can
got more to talk
banter.
Bands, something that
Ooh.
I think, you know, just going into it, getting ready. If you're Ball State, if you're EMU, looking at the teams, looking at how they performed, what would you say for EMU? You talked about the Fiora being really good, the Pike, or do you want to just use all three of your first bands to just try to take out this ADC's pool?
To me, Aurora is a must ban. I think Aurora, maybe Varus are two that you should definitely look at because of how amazing Aliplane has been on that particular pick in solo queue, as well as the Aurora being shared by both the top and mid laner of Ball State. And that is something that could potentially be used as an answer for one of those range top laners, like you said, to match range with range. And Aurora has just so much mobility with that W that she can just hop around invisible, and it makes these fights so difficult to play. We saw a lot of the value of that yesterday, you know, with those roams, but it looks like we might have something. Oh, never mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right. April Fools was a little bit, it's too.
But that doesn't stop us.
Yeah, no, we can still be goofy. So definitely want to address those two in draft. I would imagine the Virus maybe a little bit less so. Clock is playing, Pike is a must ban. I feel like that's just kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. But if the teams have done their homework, which I'm sure they have, what else? You could look to maybe do a Skarner ban. That's something that this champion is still just kind of running rampant amongst a lot of pro play, amongst just general solo queue. So definitely something you could look towards just because of the amount of early game pressure it gives you, the amount of takiness, durability that it gives you in late game team fights. And that ult man is the Impale is just something nuts. So you definitely want to keep your eyes on that. Maybe a R2 ban for that one. Trundle, Fiora. I mean, it really depends on the top matchup, which side you're on if you get counterpicked, because spawn support-wise. That is going to be a Braum, some nice
boy Braum.
disengage. We love Braum here. He is going to offer some of the value into maybe, he can block some of those tangling roots with the Maokai ult. He can block some of the Talia Qs as well as the Jin R. And we do see kind of that weak side, like I mentioned, flex, so that's going to be the Ornn for the top lane. Definitely going to be appreciative that there is no Fewer on the table, but
there's hovering, surely.
no, I mean that would be a really good pick. I think there's not a ton of lockdown. I mean, if you can dodge the Braum, you can dodge the Lilia. It wouldn't be bad, but I also really love that. Two similar kind of would be lane bullies, but it is going to be the Jace, kind of a more standard pick. So that is still annoying to deal with as a Ornn, but it's not as oppressive as some of the other two picks that he was hovering there.
Yeah, if I'm at Ornn right now, if I see the Darius, I'm like, okay, well, dang. If I see the Vayne, I'm like, okay, FF.
I definitely
I think
helps,
a Jace is playable.
Yeah, helps the mental for sure. Something to be wary of. Silk has played this Jace against Miami's roster and looked phenomenal on it. I think he is incredibly comfortable with this pick. It's so strong. We saw it played yesterday. Well, I mean, that did result in the one game that Northeastern did drop yesterday, I believe, was the one where they played Jace. I think that Silk is going to feel just right playing this, especially into this more weak side Ornn. So we'll see. I think both teams have drafted pretty solid comps. Team fight is going to be pretty fun, but we will see who eventually comes out on top.
Oh, okay. I think I was looking at the summoner spells. It seemed like Varus and Braum were both thinking Flash Ignite, but then it changed last second. So I hope that the change is there, because I feel like bringing the double Ignite into that bot lane, like it might be nice. The Alistar's coming in. He does get or give the heal with his ability or passive, and I feel like one Ignite would do the trick.
Probably, yeah. And it could just be kind of one of those last minute, oh, I forgot to swap. We'll see if that was addressed in the game. Did it look like it changed?
Yeah, at the last second, I feel like I saw a barrier and a heal.
Yeah, that's probably more standard. Yeah. So I would imagine that would probably be coming through. We will have to see. It says the little shocker before we get into game. They're already starting, making my heart race. But we'll see. I think that the double Ignite isn't unheard of. Maybe it's a bit more unorthodox, but could be something to spice up, heat things up here in this game one. EMU, BSU fighting for a spot in finals tomorrow.
It's going to be quite the fight today, too. I mean, Ball State, they feel confident coming into this, I'm sure. EMU, they know it's an uphill battle, so maybe just kind of surprising them. Maybe Ball State might be a little bit too lax here, and EMU, of course, just going to be trying their hardest from start to finish. And while I do feel like Ball State will end up playing the same, you never know. You still could just be like, oh, I know we're primed to win this one, we're confident, so we're going to play a little bit more lax, maybe like 80%, right?
Yeah.
And then EMU's bringing 100. Maybe those add up to equal values in the end to allow EMU to maybe just find one extra fight. All of a sudden they're on top and Ball State's down, they're like, now what?
Yeah, it feels kind of reminiscent of yesterday's series a bit that we had the pleasure of casting together, because it does feel like a little bit of that David versus Goliath situation where you're up against the 1 seed, definitely the favorite to make an appearance in the finals, and you just got to be like, all right, we're going to play authentic, we're going to play our way, we're going to do whatever we can to make our stay longer here at these championships. And I love to see it. I think you always got to root for an underdog, so I'm hoping that they can make some plays, like you said, maybe take the series. You never know. There's a lot of potential, and especially when you come in as the heavy favorite, you haven't played a game yet. This would be, because Ball State, similar to Miami, came in with a bye. They could get sloppy. They could get complacent. And historically, they're not the team to do that, but who knows? Yeah. If there's ever a potential for something that is cinematic, it is the championships.
Yeah, maybe they were up late last night doing VOD. You never know. Maybe the EMU's like, we're going to get good sleep. We're going to get up, go early, have a nice breakfast. And maybe Ball State was like, yeah, we're going to stay up, do maybe a little bit of VOD review, go to bed, wake up when we can. They seem a little bit more structured than that.
Yeah,
so
no,
I'm
I
making
think
stuff up.
maybe we're not giving them enough credit because they're here for a reason. You know, they have talented players, talented staff. So definitely something to keep in mind. But you know, we did have a bit of a thunderstorm roll through here last night, and we had some pretty big lightning. And maybe that kept them up, and maybe that'll be the difference maker. Mother Nature is going to be the one to turn the tide in the favor of EMU. We'll see.
That'd be crazy. That would actually be insane.
Yeah, we did have a bit of a web draft, so I believe they would be picking their champions in game now. So that's probably why we have a little bit of a delay here, but we will get into game hopefully very soon. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see. I think I like, just on paper, I feel like I like the team fight of EMU more, like a strict 5v5. I think there's a lot of potential for like picks on the side of Ball State. But Jin always gets me worried because I feel like he can do a lot in a 5v5, but spacing matters, and he doesn't have the same like consistent damage that a pick like a Jinx or a Varus would. So we'll have to see how that might change.
Yeah. I think one thing we can expect to see is the CC's really good on Ball State, just because you have the Jin with the Alistar, so the Alistar goes in, knocks up Jin, already W, someone's stuck there for so long, you bring the Maokai into the mix, slow them down even more, root them, whatever you need to do. You have the Talia to bring the character back to them into the team fight. Jace can throw up his little gate, speed up, and they have a lot of good engage still on the side of Ball State, which of course can still be used for disengage when you're thinking about a potential Maokai ult, Jace throwing up the gate so you can run back. The Jin is going to be the target for the most part for EMU if they can make it that far through that front line.
They definitely have a lot to go through. That Talia, like you mentioned, I think it's going to offer so much disrupt for a lot of these fights. The seismic shove can be used to push people away, push people in. There's a lot of flexibility on Ball State's draft they can use in these team fights to make sure that it's tilted in their favor, because there's a lot that they can do to make sure you're never getting close. Like Lilia, while she is such a speed demon, when she gets those passive stacks up, it's gonna be an uphill battle for sure. Even to get close, you have the Maokai. There's a lot of lockdown. So making sure that this Jin remains untouched is definitely be priority number one. But Ali playing is going to be the guy to watch in these team fights. And yeah, definitely gonna be curious when it comes to Grubs, because Ornn, kind of feels to me like they're gonna take more of a backseat unless they get some early prio towards those topside objectives, which to me doesn't seem likely unless Ball State opts to do the Dragon rather than the Grubs, but I feel like they want the Grubs in this series.
They definitely want the Grubs. You're 100% right. Whether they're going to be able to or not is the question that we need to ask here. The Wave State, I don't know if it's going to be able to make it there. That Lilia, early on, I don't know if she'll ever actually be able to catch up to the Jace, even with getting some of those speed stacks. And the Jace is going to know that, stay in that range, and be able to make a quick escape back to the tower. So I think, at least for first Grubs and first Drake, I think EMU is probably going to have a focus on that bot lane as long as they don't get poked down. That fourth Jin shot, even just one of those landing, just completely pushes that wave back into you. You can't really do anything. You're stuck under your tower because you're afraid of the next fourth shot, and then all of a sudden you're only one more away from death. And it has to make you play very, very careful. So I think that's what we're going to end up seeing. EMU try to get that focus, play a little safer for its bot lane, get the first Drake, give up those Grubs. Then once you start getting level 6, around that time those other Void Grubs come up, then you really engage on that. You try to get those, that way you can at least go even.
Yeah, I definitely, ultimate ability of Varus is definitely a powerful tool that you want for one of those Grub fights. It gives a lot of zone control in terms of the lockdown that it has throughout this area. But I think another thing to keep in mind is the Talia, and keeping an eye on when she has 6, because that gives so much mobility, so much snap potential for a gank in any of these lanes. She can be everywhere at once, and that's something that cooldown that definitely EMU wants to keep an eye on, because that enables them to have pressure basically anywhere on the map within a moment's notice. They can be like, okay, I'm having some difficulty here at my red buff, boom, she's there, and then you're up a person. So definitely, you got to keep that in mind. Similar to like a Galio, that would be a factor in a lot of these team fights, no matter where it is on the map. So that is definitely an X factor to me in this draft, and I think Ball State knew that because even if they were to make a cheeky play, they have numbers advantage. That could change with a press of a button.
Yeah. A couple of the characters I feel like we haven't talked about on the side of EMU, the Corky and the Orn. The Orn, just as a quick saying, is going to allow them to scale throughout the fight. So even if they go down gold, they catch up just from those upgrades. And take a look at the Corky. That's going to be a lot of damage too, firing in those missiles. You get one of those upgraded ones, you land that, all of a sudden you're doing a bunch of damage. They're going to be maybe going first strike here, I would assume. Maybe be able to build up that gold on that Talia, try to get a favor in the mid lane so you can make better roams up that to that top side and bot. Issue with Talia though is that ult completely negates that. Even if somehow Corky's going to be able to clear those waves way faster, Talia's going to be making it to fights as soon as they're happening or being the one that's going in and engaging those fights.
Yeah, Talia's going to be everywhere, and Corky, similar to the problems that Jin might face, there's a lot that can lock him up in these team fights, so it's important that he remains pretty vigilant, because if he gets locked down, that's a big source of damage wiped off the board for Eastern Michigan. Because, Corky's great at just dealing, he has this rocket spiraling down the team fights. He can weave in the autos, has true damage, can shred MR and armor. But if he goes down, none of it really matters. And Corky has tools, like he has the dash, the Valkyrie that he can use to kind of dive through the fight. But if that's on cooldown, I think Ball State is going to be like, okay, we're going to zero in on you now. Because that's pretty much if he doesn't have flash up, his entire kit for avoiding some of the brutal CC, admittedly very brutal CC. And not only with the Valkyrie, if he doesn't have flash or anything, he can get caught up in those, the earth, Talia, when she disrupts the earth, it stops any dashes and you get stunned. So definitely keep an eye on that. That is a key factor for laning phase as well, because Corky uses his Valkyrie a lot for trading patterns. So if they're able to predict his movement, it could make it a lot tougher for him to just kind of coast.
Yeah. We kind of talked about what objectives they focus on. Looking at EMU, I was thinking the Lilia is probably going to try to spend some time going bot, trying to get ahead of the match to get that first Drake. Whether that's where the Lilia might stay and maybe do a little bit of a camping situation, or if they will make that roam around the map, keep clearing the waves and just kind of see which lane needs it. For Ball State, you have that Maokai. Where do you think they're going to kind of like stake their claim? Do you think they're going to go top? Do you think that the Jace really needs it into the Warren early on? Or do you think they're going to use that to try to counter those Lilia ganks coming in that bot lane potentially?
I think it depends. I think the Lilia positioning is very important, because we've seen that the Maokai can offer so much in the early game in terms of setting up your lanes for success, just based off of what we saw yesterday. Maokai was used so much. But it is really kind of a mind game, because I think the skill of Ball State's roster allows them to track the jungler. I feel like they if they know they get some deep vision early on, that's something you have to keep an eye on, and they can be there matching your every move. Playing safe when they need to, playing aggressive, matching one of those ganks, and it could spell the end of any kind of pressure that you have if something goes awry in the early game. Because I think Ball State's the type of roster to take any little inch that they're given and turn it into a mile of a lead. So definitely want to play a bit conservative, at least on the start of this series, because you definitely want to make sure that the game one isn't something that isn't too one-sided if you can manage it. Or, you could get a possible upset, and that carries through the rest of the series, and it's big for your mental. As a team, the mental like this matters a lot. And these circumstances, you need to have a mindset where you're going to be like, we are the team that is going to come out on top today. We will play better. I'm confident in my abilities. And I think that, above all anything else, is going to be a key factor for both of these teams. Because it doesn't matter, even if you come in as a favorite, mental plays a big part on how you approach these series. Even if you're winning, if you're not winning in a way that makes you feel like satisfied almost, then it's not what you need.
Yeah. because I've definitely seen teams where they'll go ahead, they'll get their win, but it was sloppy. It was way too close compared to what they really were looking for, and it kind of brings a negative feeling into the next one, like you were saying, and kind of makes that one a little bit worse. So they keep that going, and even if they maybe even pick up a next map, then the third, if they're still keeping that, and it'll just keep degrading their play. And yeah, I think mental is a big part. I know both of these teams have a really strong mental. I'm sure of it.
They made it here.
They made it here. They've got to. So.
I'm curious to see though, with like we mentioned the EMU series that played already. While it was, it felt like a battle at one point, but I feel like it was a little towards a large part of that series. I'm curious to see how they take that, maybe use that as motivation to feel like they're raring to go in this series.
Seems like they're just setting themselves up, keep an eye on the rivers, see where everybody's going. An early ward placed in that topside river there by the Maokai.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be helpful. Just making sure that they have eyes on this jungler. Keep an eye on any roams. I think the Ornn isn't going to be too mobile. If you had to ask, I love the Choo Choo Ornn skin.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
One of my favorites. That actually, fun fact, was an April Fool's skin for last year, and now they even did a better job this year with making these skins that I think are the best that they've done in a while. We do see kind of a 4-man stack moving in, maybe trying to do something cheeky. I think Talia's going to spot them, and they will know that this is happening. Let's see how they can respond. Ornn is standing on a ward here as well, so a lot of enemies missing pings are going to be coming down. Jhin roaming up, seeing if he can find something, but I think, are they going to let this happen? I don't know. Because level 1, I definitely think that Varus might have the advantage, so see how they choose to play it. They are still kind of existing in the jungle over there. Let's see, I think they're definitely trying to zone him off of his own camp, so he's going to be stealing the wolves here. And maybe they're going to keep it going with the blue buff. And bot lane can't do much about it, but they are going to have kind of the uncontested wave early on, and that's going to affect the level up. See some trading here towards the top side. Ornn is going to have to deal with that this entire game.
Yeah, that's going to make it really, really tough for Ornn to get anything. But of course, you're playing for that weak side, that late game. You're just trying to get the levels with Ornn and scale. Bot lane was able to make it in time there, get a little bit of CS still, but hanging out with that 4th shot. Now you got to be careful. Alistar walking up, they have the level 2 advantage going in on the Varus. The knockup comes through the root, and the damage is done there. Guardian helping out at least a little bit.
Yeah, and that early trading is kind of what you expect when you sack your lane a little bit early to help your jungler out. You're going to be at a huge disadvantage for that experience, and it's going to show with that disastrous trade. And now Jhin is in a lot of, or Varus is in a lot of trouble if Alistar decides to go for another snap play. Lilia in the area, knowing that she has to kind of cover her bot lane. It seems like they've recovered a bit. They're pushing this wave back in. CS pretty even across the board. Maokai recovering quite well, is in the enemy jungle, going for a little invade of his own, catching this Gromp here.
Yeah, that's definitely what you got to do in this scenario. I mean, you're losing out on your blue side, so instead of playing, that the top side, bot side jungle, you're just giving up. So now Ball State's got that top side, and then EMU taking that bot, still trying to keep themselves in as much as they can. Seems like they're pushing this wave in here, bot. Trying to allow the Varus back, but no, they decide to stay as they got a hit onto the Braum.
Yep, and we do see First Blood has been given over in the mid lane. Talia gonna pick that one up. Has no mana. I assume a seismic shove just kind of went her way. Gonna get that kill locked down. We won't see that one, unfortunately, but Talia gonna get that early lead down, pushing that wave in as well. And more fights towards the bot lane. Jhin gonna be forced to use his flash, and kind of a nice counter punch towards the bot lane for EMU, but will it be enough? Don't actually find the kill. Sums down is one thing, a kill is another.
True. I mean, that's going to help them later on in fights, but yeah, for the time being, I think it is going to make it a big issue, because now you have to be a lot more careful with this Braum. You can't go in, you can't try to make something crazy like that happen, and it could make it pretty tough to take control of this lane if that's what they want to do, is set up for this drag early on.
Yeah, it's going to definitely throw a wrench in a lot of their plans because Talia having an early lead, definitely not something you want. She's going to grab that amplifying tome. And now another kill potentially in the top lane. 2 flashes going to be used and Jace doesn't fall, but it is going to be another trade of flashes towards the top side. But I think Ornn making it out there definitely going to be very thankful because it would have been pretty disastrous. He would have gone out, but he's staying. He needs to catch this wave, but he can't get too greedy. Jace can just land a lucky shot blast, and that could spell the end of him.
Seems like Ornn just has to stay under tower for the
Yeah,
time
Maokai is
being.
pathing. They might look for a dive here. It would be pretty easy. Ornn doesn't have a ton of tools, and yeah, they're going to knock them back, and that is just too easy. And I think Silk will go down, but it isn't execute, so he will not find the gold. And I think you take that any day of the week. Lilia towards the bot side. Flash going to be used, knocked down.
It's looking pretty good for that bot fight there. I mean, Ball State just able to back up pretty easily, not have to worry too much about that engage there. So taking the first 2 kills right off the rip, Ball State looking very, very promising. The CS though has been even perfectly here in the spot.
Yeah, it's not too bad for them. They make a proactive play, get the flashes of both bot laners, but right now Ball State sitting with 2 kills. Eastern Michigan not having any.
Curious to see, you can notice this Maokai again hanging out towards this top side. Are they going to go for the tower dive one more time, or is instead they're just setting up? You see the Alistar moving through, get Void Grubs. I don't know. I mean, going into the jungle, okay, just trying to get vision here.
Yeah, it seems like Ornn definitely has a target on his back when it comes to where Ball State is setting their sights this game. And he will become a lot harder to dive towards the later stages of this laning phase, simply because he's just going to build up so much resistances that he's not going to be able to be popped like that. And he also has that Bella's Breath that will make him unstoppable, so locking him down a little bit harder if he manages his cooldowns. They are going to get those Void Grubs, like we mentioned, is a really important objective to take, just to have pressure in this game. It's going to make it easy, more punishing if they were to fall, or if Eastern Michigan was to fall in any of their lanes, because you can just clear those platings, just develop a gold lead pretty much naturally. So Eastern Michigan is going to respond with this dragon. They will be able to take that relatively uncontested besides that headbutt.
Yeah, like I said, if you can't actually contest those grubs, just go ahead, just try to take that Drake. Ultimately, it's not going to have the same effect going throughout the game as the Void Grubs will, but it's better than just giving up the Void Grubs and not really getting much more than that. Leah's still hanging out towards the spawn side, doesn't know there's a ward in this pixel, so Ball State's doing a pretty good job playing back. And now Alistar, because they left lane, Jin is up to level 6. It looks like a dive's happening again here in the top lane. Ornn gonna go ahead and pop that ult. That was a good Q coming through from the Maokai, but instead the tower charge is still gonna be had here. Jason doing damage to Ornn, so the tower isn't gonna target them. They're still gonna be doing a lot of damage. The Bro goes through. I don't know if they got that melee off in time. Jace coming back in for more. This Jace has the damage to do it here. Very low.
The minions, though.
No, it's the minions.
The minions dissuade him from going farther forward, looking for any follow-up on that kill. And a beautiful play by Ornn. Like I said, it gets a lot harder to make those plays, but Talia roaming up probably has her wall available, but I don't think she'll even opt to use it. Gonna see if she can find that dive on the top here, and she will. Taken down, and that's Feat of Warfare over to Ball State.
Very, very well done there. Trying to take advantage of that Ornn early on before they get too strong. Bearassault pop through here, chunking down the Alistar at least a little bit, trying to make that wave, or that lane maybe a little less aggressive there. The Alistar will have to think if they really want to go in and risk getting chunked more. They're doing a good job, I do want to say, CS-wise across the board. It's just them finding these picks early on that is putting them at a little bit of an advantage, especially in that top lane, trying to deny a lot of that gold on the Ornn.
Yeah, Talia gonna take some damage here. Maokai in the area, Braum as well, forced to flash, but he's gonna be knocked up, or rooted.
Seems like they're just gonna be able to keep going in on this. The Maokai knocking the Corki back, but is able to make it out of there. Q comes through onto the Maokai, is stunned. I don't know if they're gonna be able to continue this fight. Lilia, I mean, they have all, if they would have gone in, I think there could have been potential there, but the Corki low on mana definitely wasn't worth it.
Yeah, well played there from Eastern Michigan. I think if the little bouncing or rolling seed didn't go the wrong way, I think that could have been a really big play for the Lilia. Definitely having something to say in that fight, but unfortunately it's just going to be kind of a trade of abilities. Ornn sitting pretty here towards the top side, having found that return kill for that overzealous dive with the Maokai. And now it seems a bit more even for them. Obviously, Silk going to be feeling just fine. Has that kill scaling up well, has the tier stacking, but not terrible. I think Eastern Michigan showing a strong early game performance, and Alistar roaming. Maybe he can find something here.
Corky's got to be careful. The vision's just right next to him. If someone can walk up here, the Talia trying to make their way over soon enough, and the flash comes over the wall here. Alistar knocking them right on over. Corky has a flash of their own, but unfortunately it's right into the Maokai. The Corky having to accept their fate as they almost get a pick on Flea, doing quite a bit of damage, but now has to back up.
Yeah, looking for the return tower, but now Varus trying to go aggressive onto the Jhin, and he is sitting duck, but he has the force shot, gonna miss it with his ult. Current call not gonna find much, but Alistar back in the area. Lilia here to match.
Seems like they're not going to really be trying to go for too much of a fight. Instead, just stay here, make their presence known, and keep them away from these squishier bot laners, but still hovering.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Definitely a good play to try and find some action in the bot lane. Not going to take the Jhin down, but managing not to give the kill over. Oh, double sleep though.
This could be massive here. The Jhin getting low as a solid Braum on it too to try to get that follow-up to make its way. The Alistar low, but not quite again still. Both of these players from Ball State getting incredibly low, but not being able to find the pick here does not feel great.
Yeah, the Unbreakable Will, or I think it is the Alistar ultimate, allows him to cleanse that CC and gain a ton of damage resist. So able to make that out. Just very, very close fight there. Eastern Michigan almost finding a huge play towards the bot side. And now the Void Grubs in the meantime are going to be taken. That is, I believe, yeah, that is all 6 Grubs for Ball State. Huge boon towards their late game. Going to make taking down these towers a piece of cake.
It's going to be just a free roam for them. You still see all those plates are up. They're still going to be up for at least a few more minutes here. So they really want to try to push in these waves as fast as possible, take control of those tower platings, and just, continue to try to build a lead here as they have a 2,000 gold lead so far.
Yeah, nothing too crazy, but definitely not something you want to scoff at either. I think it's definitely a pretty sizable lead, just generally with a lot of it focused on the Talia. She's able to be the recipient of a lot of these early kills and aggression by Ball State. And now they're looking to contest this dragon, clearing the vision on it. Is this Alistar looking phenomenal as Quokka. We'll see. They're walking in pretty blind. Seismic Shock gonna land.
Corky's getting chunked so hard. This is not what you want to see. Dash comes through as the root lands. That's a good way to get the Braum out of the fight, just so they can't attack the Corky. My goodness, getting down to 1 health. And it seems like the Jhin all making its way through, but that Braum, tanky as all can be, able to keep them out of that for a little bit longer. Unfortunately, though, they're not going to be able to take this Drake.
Yeah, that pretty one-sided fight there, that early chunking of the Corky is going to make it pretty much impossible for them to contest this Cloud Drake. And yeah, Corky getting caught there, really unfortunate, and almost losing his life in the process. Does manage to make it out just barely. Braum doing his part, blocking that curtain call. But meanwhile, it's just coming up pretty great for Ball State. The arrow, or corrupting arrow is going to go wide, corrupting chains. Good flash by the Varus to dodge that knockup.
I mean, this is still a very winnable fight. I mean, they are able to pick off that Alistar. Braum's able to get in here. Seems like they're going to be picking up the Maokai next. Jhin under tower. EMU super stoked about that engage.
Yeah, what an amazing response to playing that really well. Just utilizing this Lilia to have the damage they need to cut through some of these beefy members. And a great cleanse there from Ali playing to make sure that he doesn't get slept. Definitely saved his life in that scenario. So mitigating, but definitely signs of life here. Gold lead still hovering around like a 1.5k. Braum going aggressive.
I love that flash there. You hit the Q. You know you're going to be able to get this stun up.
But Varus just doesn't have the health to follow up, and Braum's on his own.
I think the Browns should be able to make it out here. The Varus gets a little too aggressive. The Ignite's going to go onto them. They still find the kill onto the Jhin here. Staying up on the tower. The Varus is just so strong, actually. I correct myself there. That Rage Blade, able to just get those stacks super quick. Talia trying to make something happen.
Yeah, Talia in the area, but she can't do much. I mean, they have a wave here. They're fine. And Braum providing a perfect engage. I thought that they wouldn't have the damage to follow up. Varus was playing it a little bit safe, but little did I know, they were just sandbagging. They were definitely just looking a little shy, and he had the massive amounts of Birch damage, has that Rage Blade online, and just got those stacks up, just did enough damage, and it totally exploded the Jhin. Alley Plane going down within the blink of an eye, really well played from the bot lane of Eastern Michigan, making a bold statement.
Yeah, fantastic play. I mean, they went in. They are confident when they're in these fights. I don't really see any sort of timidness in the way of like, oh no, I don't know like how this is going to do it. Instead, they know the plan. Like, okay, this isn't the time to engage. That's why that verse is backing off, waiting for a better opportunity instead. So
yeah, speaking of that, there's some aggression here in the topside jungle. Alistar in the area does get spotted out. Farsight, we're going to give some more information. Lilia here to cover as well. We'll see if it really turns into anything. This Jace incredibly strong, has been CSing really well, pretty much uncontested in this top line. I mean, he's been into an orange, so it's not exactly the hardest job. And Corki going to be found as well.
I think this should be it for Corki. Even popping the Jhin out here, they really want to secure this kill. They know things are getting a little bit too even for them. Was that turret? No turret still. No turret down. We're 15 and a half minutes in here. So close that top and bot. Mid, you can see Orange or bot. You can see Orange trying to stop that. As I think mid does finally go down.
Yeah, and mid turret is definitely under threat here. Going to be kind of uncontested, and now it seems like they're trying to do a cross map towards the top, but they have none of those void grubs. Alistar here watching them do it, and I don't think this is worth it. I mean, they're getting to work on that inner towards the mid lane, and Alistar's going to prevent them from doing anything. Or maybe he can try and stop some backs. They're getting so much, and they do take that inner tower with the 6 grubs that they've accumulated, and that's going to balloon the gold lead back to 2K.
They're going to be happy about that one there. That was a really good way to play it. You know, if you see that one's so low, go ahead, take it, because, I mean, EMU, they didn't even get to push up all the way on that top tower and, you know, get some kind of response for that. I think they were willing to give up that top tier 1 from Ball State, but didn't need to.
Yeah, Jace, once again, in his familiar place in a side lane, just look at that. He's just able to do so much with these grubs. That's why it's, you know, despite all the really great plays they've made around the map, responding to Ball State's aggression, Eastern Michigan not having a part to play in a lot of these early game objectives is coming to bite them. And it's really enabled Ball State to just kind of do whatever. Any rotation that they have on the map is going to be favorable because they just can get these turrets down so quickly.
Ball State set themselves up here for the Rift Herald. It appears bot lane, keep this Jace back as far as they can. They got to be careful going through this top side. I feel like they know at least 3 of these players are in there. So just kind of stay back. Maybe you got Drake up in, where's my timer at on this? Oh, it's just barely off the screen.
Yeah.
Less than a minute. There's a 0 there. Okay, 40 seconds.
Yeah, 40 seconds until Infertile Drink will be spawning. We'll see what they can do about that if they decide to contest. I think they're still in a point where it's not a terrible idea. Like I said, this team fight is incredibly strong. As long as Corki doesn't get caught like he has previously, I think they will be in good shape to contest this Drake. They're setting up vision on it very well, making sure that it's going to be definitely a commitment for Ball State. If they want to just give this over, I mean, the Drake score is 1-1 and just continue scaling. I think that wouldn't be a terrible idea, but it looks like they're trying to get in, maybe get in a position to fight. But Maokai says no, he's just going to grab the Herald, and that's 6 grub Herald. And maybe they might go for a fight anyway. Jhin Flash.
Oh, they went on for that fight really aggressively. Weren't quite able to find anybody with those ultimates. Now kind of stuck back. They know they're not in the driver's seat anymore. You need that Ornn in that team fight. Maybe they're going to be the ones able to find a big knockup with that train if they make it through. Is trying to stay up. Okay, so they're not getting poked. This is good, but you see the Maokai, the Jhin will come through as well. Ornn going to be able to target here. Looks like they're not going to be going for that Jhin. Go ahead, let them pop those shots. You're not getting low at all. Currently, EMU looking favored in this fight. Braum has to be careful low. Jace with a nice flash going in there, finding him at the end. The Maokai falls as well here. Sleep comes through. Lilia doing a bit of damage, but it looks like Ball State have been the ones to take over in the end. Corki just trying to run as fast as they can.
It looked good. I mean, they were a little sectioned off. You could see like the wall of the river was cutting their team in half, and Ball State knew that, and they realized that they expended 2 really important ultimates just trying to catch the Jhin in the mid lane. All he had to do was flash. Corki now going to be the last victim here, I believe. Yep, he's going to go down to that Leon Ruiz burn, and that is going to be an uncontested Drake for Ball State. They're going to pick that up pretty happily. That's going to put them on 2 Drakes, and yeah, really well played. The Jace flashing over the wall, Silk knowing the exact angle that he needed to do when the fight was favorable, when he could move in, picking up 3 kills in that fight. If he didn't get slept there, I think he could have had a chance for the Penta. And yeah, I mean, we've just seen the lead that he's been able to accumulate. Alistar as well, Quaka finding a great engage, and overall, just a pretty perfect fight for the Ball State roster here. It's exactly what they wanted. I mean, the beginning looked like it might be salvageable, but the positioning was really what doomed Eastern Michigan at the end of the day.
Yeah, they did find themselves in that really close quarters area, especially with that Bears. You do not want to be sitting there. Taking a look at the map, there was some pretty good vision set up. A couple of those wars have expired since then, but Ball State's been doing a fantastic job of vision and really been able to kind of lock down where these players are going to be and when, giving them a big advantage in how they plan out whatever team fight they're going to have next.
To me, this Jace is just really, I mean, obviously Talia is going to be a huge threat, dishing out a lot of damage, but this Jace is going to be someone you want to keep your eye on. I mean, we said alley playing, but at this point, he's been really more of doing a phenomenal job at the utility gym, making sure that he's just providing lockdown and traps vision for his team. Like, not that he's not contributing, he's doing an amazing job, but really the star of the show is this Jace to me. He's been able to develop such a lead, a gold lead in this side lane, and it has manifested. He's got a completed Manamune, and maybe they're looking for more in the mid lane.
Yeah, pretty big engage here with this Talia. Warren makes their way through here, able to knock up two. Brown should fall first here in this fight. Continue to go forward. Alistar back in the back line. Finds the Bears so close to this Jin though. The Bears deciding, hey, I might as well try to take one with me. They find this Talia. That's going to be a lot of damage down. And Talia was doing massive amount. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough here. Lilia with the root, the stun from the Alistar as well. It's just be up to them to make it back, thankfully, fast enough. So
Yeah,
he gets to keep two players up.
Lilia's got the speed necessary to scoot her way out of there. But again, I feel like positioning there was a little bit off. The whole fight seemed pretty split up from Eastern Michigan. They want to make sure they're fighting as 5, trying to do, Alistar, a little bit of a hex flash there. Making sure they're fighting from a front to back, making sure that they get full use of this order, and that's going to enable Ball State to start this Otacon. And I think that Eastern Michigan has no clue that this is happening. So I feel like they're really going to have no difficulty picking this one up. They got a lot of damage. They got the tools to take it down. And this will just be exactly what they need to further ensure that they're taking this one home. Jay's going to pick up these flowers along with the Maokai. And yeah, it's going to feel really bad for Eastern Michigan because any opportunity that they had to really contest that fight could have been really good. Obviously, we saw everyone was just kind of in an awkward spot, and Ball State took full advantage.
You're absolutely right. Right now, the name of the game in these team fights have just been positioning. The fact that the Varus went all the way over to the Jin. Now, to be fair, that Alistar is the one who knocked him back that way. But you're close enough to that Alistar where he can come at you, get behind you, and still hit that Q over. You either have to play a little bit more back or have someone that can be a good peel for you to be able to slow that Alistar down. You have that Braum just try to sit on top of you, land that Q, slow him down so he actually can't get behind you, and throw you back into the team. There's just got to be a little bit better positioning there in those fights, like you're saying. And it could be good.
Yeah, I don't like this. I feel like we've seen this before where they just kind of tunnel vision, use all their important holds on this Jin, and all he has to use is a flash in return. And this could spell disaster. Talia in the area, Corky going to dodge that seismic shove, but now Alistar on the flank.
Trying to make a little bit more of a fight happen. This Alistar will definitely be able to push one in and be able to pick them up if they really want to, but they're not.
I think they're fine just kind of delaying the game. Obviously, Jay's picking up that inner towards the top side, and I just kind of feels a bit disjointed from Eastern Michigan, not really knowing which fights they want to commit on. And this Jin really has the easiest job in the world, kind of gets them to use all their ultimates on him when he's just sitting under his own tower. He was in no real threat there. So I think bit of an overextension by EMU, kind of the second, maybe third time they've done that, and not really found anything come out empty-handed. So definitely want to maybe make sure that they're on the same page with how they're pulling the trigger on some of these fights. Jin has those Swifties. He's going to be incredibly slippery to lock down, and when he has his flash, there's just no chance.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. What they're trying to find there, though, is that shutdown gold. Try to get them a little bit higher up. Maybe you're just a little off one item. That could be the difference maker in a team fight when you have that full item. It has so much more to it than just the parts. But with the flash, you can't take that.
Talia could be in an awkward spot, though. This is when it would be really nice to see if we can go for a full engage. She is going to be put asleep.
They follow up on that. Talia should fall. Now they need to back up. Be happy with that. The Drake is up. You can at least take this. They have objective bounties as well. Another way that this should help take them in this fight.
Corky backing. I don't know if I like this. He has a lot of HP. I think you want to definitely stick around and help your team. He may have TP. I'm not entirely sure, just in case. I think he has to back, though, just because of the Jace making the progress on their base. It's not like they can go for a huge contest, Ball State here, so that is objective bounties, and he is going to be able to back to stop the Jace. Make sure that he can't take down this first inhibitor turret. I take it back. The back was the move there, just with these grubs. He knew that the Drake was theirs. No real possibility at any kind of serious contest there from Ball State.
Plus, you're still happy with the damage that you have, even if the Corky's gone. The Varus is still up. The Lily is still up if she's able to get in a team fight and just cause so much burn. And picking up that Riftmaker, just getting that little extra Omni Vamp to keep you sustained. When I don't think there's any anti-heal currently on the side of Ball State is a big help.
Ooh, Jace, a little bit of a weird blast cone. Is he going to be taken out? Rocket's coming down. Brom not finding the flash that he wanted there, and that is 2 summoners expended for Ball State's 1. Talia also in the area. Maybe she's looking to make a play. Brom hopefully not face checking, and they're on this Baron just getting some vision down, trying to get that really OP Void Scuttle Crab to see who's in the area. Alistar with the headbutt. But yeah, objectivity's not going to be in play for too much longer. Eastern Michigan was able to benefit just a little bit from that great Drake fight that they found. And I think that they did have some success with that pick. They finally got locked down someone. They had to use all their ults, but it was on definitely someone that you'd want. And the Jhin wasn't the choice this time, and maybe that is something they should know going forward. Talia may be a bit more vulnerable to plays like that.
Yeah, I think the Jhin is still very vulnerable because the only thing he has is his flash. That Talia could potentially try to use that ult really quick. They could still have flash up, so some options. Of course, they wouldn't necessarily want to use that ult, but they landed those very well. There was good skill shots. I think that's how they want to take these fights. They want to start off with a man advantage, even if it means giving up a sum spell or committing a couple of ults just to get one. Is worth it in the end here.
I don't know. I feel like I like the pick comp that they're playing right now, trying to get one before a fight. But maybe in a 5v5, I feel like they're not as at a disadvantage as they might think. This is a little scary. They're going in blind. Braum going to be rooted up.
This Braum, still so tanky, but getting pushed back there. Braum's going to be the first one to go down. Ornn won't be able to catch his ult in time, so they're not going to be able to have that big knock-up. That is unfortunate. That was very well timed there by Maokai to stop that. A knock-up onto the Jace.
I don't know if you want to do that. You're in a really tough spot.
Yeah, that's going to be Ornn down. Corky following right behind. The root comes through here. This Lily isn't going to be able to make it out in time. The Varus able to land that skill shot there with the ult. And I think... Do they have enough of a wave coming?
Oh no, it's over.
Yeah.
They have these grubs.
And I didn't even look at the timers.
Yeah, no, I think these minions are going to be pouring into the base, and Ball State, with that great team fight, using the vision advantage, going to clear out ESU, Eastern Michigan, EMU, sorry, for game 1. Pretty clean. I think that the team fights could have gone a little bit better, but definitely some potential for Eastern Michigan, showing some signs of life. Definitely having some great picks in lane, and even finding 2v2 kills at some points. I like their comp a lot. I think we can see more in the next game. But yeah, generally pretty well played from both sides. But Ball State able to find that one.
What I really like there from EMU was the adaptation. Ball State did a fantastic job going through there. Their team fights were clean. They always had their target. That Alistar absolutely popping off, able to find every single pick to throw them back into their team, setting those fights up so well. But EMU recognizing, okay, we're not doing the greatest with full team fight positioning, because I agree, I think they have a great team fight set up there, and you mentioned that towards the end, but the fact they just weren't putting themselves in the right spot, they needed to do something else.
Yeah, they were using all their ults, curiously enough, just to try and find a pick before the fight. And while that can be a viable strategy, if the Jhin that you're going for tunnel vision and using all these really important team fight tools just flashes away, you're kind of left with nothing at the end of the day. And when they end up taking those 5v5s, even if they have the composition for it, their positioning always felt a little bit questionable. So if they can clean some of those issues up, I think they have a great chance to bounce back in game 2.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time to go ahead and call it a break, because, we still got more games to go. This is a best of 5. EMU still keeping it close in that early game. Definitely has a shot at this next one. So we're going to take a quick break. Don't go too far. We will be right back.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Give it a second.
for hanging out. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Spring 2025 ESC Champions here at Miami University. We're back for Game 2, EMU versus Ball State. Ball State taking that first game. That early game was looking super close, but really started to ramp up once they kept getting more and more objectives.
Yeah, no, Ball State definitely taking that one home. A lot to me had to do with the top lane and just the consistency. It felt like Silk just kind of acted as the foundation that the rest of the team needed. While there may have been some 2v2s, some scuffles that went a bit awry for Ball State along the way, Silk was consistently getting nearly 10 CS per minute, had towers, was pushing into the base, just being that constant little like mosquito you can't quite get, and making sure that they had to divert some attention to him at all times. Because I mean, eventually we couldn't see the goal difference for individual players last game, but I would imagine that he had accumulated something very significant because he was just constantly silating, had the 6 scrubs. It is just a recipe for disaster. Jace can get to work on those towers like it was. He may as well pick Fiora.
I mean, at that point, it just looked absolutely dominant there. And the mid laner, Talia as well, I feel like had to have a big gold lead, not necessarily because of the waves. CS was fairly close. Talia, I think, pushing ahead a little bit. But I think before their first death, they were 5-0-2. So helping out a lot, finding those picks. A top lane was there for it. Good shoves onto these EMU players during team fights. Really showed up all around for me there.
Yeah, definitely seeing who can make adjustments in the draft is going to be key, because while there wasn't anything that stood out to me too much, I think maybe throwing some bans towards Silk wouldn't be a terrible idea. Obviously, I think something that really worked for Eastern Michigan was trying to get Ali playing on more of a muted pick. Like, while he was phenomenal on that Jhin, it didn't feel like it had the same, like, you know, Guma UC potential as something like, you know, a Jinx where he could kind of kite. We saw in some instances he was kind of messed up by the reload when he was snap engaged on, and he didn't have this consistent DPS to fight back effectively. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, because if he decides to pivot, but it might be pretty scary. Because I feel like if you just get him one of those slow hyper carries, scaling ADCs, he's just going to have better hands at the end of the day. So you got to keep that in mind. Maybe you can see if you can keep denying him picks in draft and keep him on something like that Jhin. Because he definitely, while he still looked like a challenger player, didn't have the same, you know, explosion that, you know, one might expect. But Quokka, oh my god, I feel like that is another thing to keep in mind. Just the map pressure that he had, it felt like he was never even in bot lane, because he was constantly making plays all around the map. Doesn't put him on Pyke, put him on Alistar, it doesn't matter. This guy is otherworldly. So another challenger player that you got to keep in the back of your head, because these guys do not mess around. So definitely want to see if EMU shift things up. Well, I think that game was relatively, even though it didn't feel like it, there was points when EMU fought back and the gold lead was even. Or the gold was even across the board, especially after some of those really good team fights that they found. I think denying one of the Drakes was good. I would pivot. I don't think you want to fight fire with fire top lane. You don't want to try and like battle with Silk, but maybe pick something that can be a little bit more flexible when it comes to the Void Grub fights, because Orin, you're just kind of saying, here you go. Yeah, like, these are yours. But if you pick something that, well, you still can weak side potentially, but you also have more pressure to contest at least 3 of those grubs at some point, I think you're in a lot better spot as EMU in that game, because we saw Silk with those Void Grubs at his hip was just able to demolish any structures that EMU had, and it just kind of changed the turn of the tide of the game. So
being able to take through those towers allowed for Ball State. I feel like I almost didn't say it enough. Their vision control was so stellar. Like they just knew exactly where it was going to be at all points. It felt like as soon as that game started going on, you take the first tier ones, you're able to get deeper and deeper wards in there. And the way they can just find themselves rotating around was really good. And to harp back on the initial start, where you were mentioning, Chase did really good. You got the hyper carry potential with Jin. Anybody on that team, it felt like could have been the carry.
Yeah, Talia, I mean, we gloss over her. She had like 6 kills at 1.5 kills in the first few minutes. And like it just felt like everyone was just working so well together. Like it didn't matter. You're right. Who got that lead? Could have been the Jin, could have been the Talia, could have been the Maokai maybe. But it just felt like everyone knew exactly where they should be. And on EMU side, while they had flashes of greatness, flashes of potential to really turn these fights in their favor, it really came down to, okay, we're completely split up in these fights. We don't have the ability to front to back, to use our team fighting tools how we want, play these fights out on our terms. Because they even had all the recipe. They cleared the vision for that one Drake fight. They did what they needed to, but then they wasted everything that they had in their toolbox, and that kind of just spelled out their downfall. It was just the same story over and over. EMU getting caught out in weird angles, and BSU just taking advantage over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of saying like, you swing open the door, you get out opportunities. What EMU was doing was swinging that door super hard, hoping that EMU was just right out front of it and trying to find the pick. But sometimes EMU able to dodge that door, sit a little farther back so it misses. You slam that door open, you're standing there, and boom, EMU just punches you right in the face, or Ball State gets you right in the face, and all of a sudden they win.
Yeah, it felt like it was, the door was spring loaded at some points, but it felt like EMU was almost pushing the door, like you said, and then it bounced back and hit them in the face. Because it oftentimes felt like they had, like I said, all the ingredients to make these fights feel really well, or feel great, but then something went wrong along the way. It could have been Corky out of place. It could have been them, 2 members on one side of a wall, 2 members on the other side. I think if they clean that up, this could go to a game 5 even. Like because Ball, despite obviously phenomenal game, did not look invincible. Like there was definitely
100%.
flashes, and that may have, like I said, had something to do with the Jin, but I feel like it really was, there was opportunities for EMU to make something incredible happen. And I was like, okay, oh my god, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. They can turn this fight. Lilia's going to be huge, and then she's just over the wall and can't impact it in any way. Or, Corky gets caught and they don't have Ornhorn, or it doesn't matter. It's semantics. I think they clean that up. We're going to be in for a treat.
I completely agree with that there. The way they were going about their team fights, just starting them off, trying to find the pick, yeah, it makes it tough, but the way they kind of can position themselves, like you said, they have those tools. Going into this next draft, though, do you think we're going to see the same team comp? Do you think they're like, okay, now I feel like we kind of have an idea of how we want to play this or how we can play this against Ball State? And if they do, if they do feel like they're confident in that, do you think that's still the right choice after seeing that first one?
I think that Ball State are perfectionists. Like obviously they work really hard. They're a very effective team. So I would imagine to them that victory, like we mentioned, is like, oh well, we could do it better. We're a team that should not be having close games. We should be just winning cleanly. And while that was a pretty clean win, like I said, there was avenues where EMU could find their way back into the game. So maybe making sure that just isn't a possibility is something that could be adjusted in draft for Ball State. Maybe getting Ali playing on more of like a hyper carry that can fight back in some of those extended trades in the 2v2s, or if there's a 3v3. I think that I'm curious to see if Ball State decides to take the same approach, even though they won. Like, can we win better?
Can we win better? I mean, that's still a fair question, because if you do have those games go on where things are a little bit too close, that's a pretty good VOD to look back at. Be like, okay, why was Ball State kind of not necessarily, I wouldn't say struggling, but why were they able to go even with Ball State? What were they doing? Being able to see that, and then maybe just capitalize even harder on those plays that EMU were making to keep that lead just neck and neck for the beginning of that match there. So
Yeah, maybe lean into more of the macro heavy things we saw. Like the Jace is a textbook pick for something that will just consistently scale up but still have ability to contest certain objectives. So maybe find more picks like that. I think Dalia also function incredibly well, just in the 1v1 in the mid lane as well as having utility across the map. Maokai obviously, similar to that Skarner vein where it's just more of utility setting up your team. That worked. I mean, some of the dives on the Ornn are a bit questionable, but like I said, that gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they choose to take any radical shifts. Maybe a carry jungler is in the cards for Ball State. Maybe they decide to do that and then match the same energy with that Lilia. Maybe they liked it. So I'm curious to see. I think they can do a lot. Obviously, Ball State's champion pools. I think it's more like a champion ocean. So I think they have plenty of potential to shake things up in this next game and make sure that Eastern Michigan really doesn't have much to work off of and from what they learned in game one. But hopefully we will get to draft soon. We can try and go to a break here. We'll see if it works. But yeah, well, hopefully we get that draft to you soon.
draft rules, nice. I guess we could talk about what we expect to still see in the draft. So EMU yesterday in their game 4, they ended up picking Mord, and I think that might be something that they wouldn't shy away from today, because we saw how the Jace kind of performed in team fights. So if you're the Mord, you're able to get in there, ult, and not even necessarily try to go for the kill and end the fight quick, but just keep him out for long enough if there is a hyper carry like that on the side of Ball State to allow the rest of the team who are kind of breaking even in these lanes that we saw, like that bot lane for EMU, just neck and neck the whole time. It was the Lilia that has to come in and allow the EMU bot lane to find those picks eventually, and then likewise the Maokai trying to help out there as well.
That's a fantastic point. I forgot completely about that Maokai pick or Mordekaiser pick yesterday, and it's definitely something that they could use as something to neutralize maybe the hyper carry play style if that's something that Ali Plane decides to pull out, because it is consistent. It's not like shooting a Horn and a Braum ultimate and just trying to lock down a Jhin. This is something that will go through, and sure, you may not find the kill, but that's a consistent member of Ball State off the board for just a little bit, even if it doesn't result in a kill. And that might be the little push they need to turn those fights into favor, because it really did just come down to positioning. So maybe something that can put you in that little duel, that 1v1, and buy enough time for you guys to get adjusted is exactly what they might need. So I'm curious to see. I like that a lot, actually, and it also does give you more pressure for those Void Grub fights. Mordekaiser are incredibly strong for those early scuffles just because of his passive. So I like that. I think that wouldn't be too terrible. Definitely would want to ban the Fiora for that, I think.
That's where I was about to go.
Fiora is so good into Mordekaiser, can parry a lot, and just will dash around him. I've played that matchup. I used to play a lot of Mordekaiser back in the day, and it just makes you want to slam your head into a wall a lot, like a lot of counter picks. But I'm sure that the top laner of Eastern Michigan knows that and would probably take it off the board if that were to be something off the table. Neferi as well, and Gwen, an interesting ban. I like that. Did receive just a pretty substantial nerf recently to dial her back more in the early game. She was being picked a lot in jungle, but we do see that Rumble blind pick, and that is a bit of a change from last game. It's similar to the Jason that it can scale up, do a lot of damage, maybe a little bit less threat in the side lane in terms of pushing, but it's really going to be like kind of a kill lane if they decide to opt into that. And I like the takeaway again of the Varus. I think keeping Ali playing off of any of those picks with a lot of carry potential is definitely going to be the move. We'll see what the second pick decides, or they're deciding. You mentioned this, the Nocturne. What do you think about that?
I'm a big fan of the Nocturne. Like I said, if you're able to at least let them push in the wave top, they still have to be careful. It makes them more hesitant to go for plates. And
by that extension, makes you a little bit more favored potentially to go for these plates since they're not going to be getting those waves in as hard. And I'm looking at this Skarner hover and I'm like, just pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think it just makes complete sense for what they're trying to do. I would argue an even better facilitator pick than Maokai just because of the tankiness and everything that goes with it. It's so annoying to play against as well. I think Nocturne would not enjoy that because if Nocturne is like they end up in a bot lane 3v3, Nocturne is not going to be able to get through this thick hide that this Scorpion has. So yeah, Wombat Baby now hovering his Corki, I like that. Tristana, another interesting pick. I think that one's really good if you want to have more of another split push carry threat. She can obviously do her bomb on the towers, get them down incredibly quickly if they do get those grubs again. But even if they don't, another way to kind of expedite this game and make sure that it's Amazon one-day delivery to the Nexus. So we'll see Galio locked in response. Normally a pick that you see kind of locked in against more mage type mid laners. So yeah. I mean, it gives them good map pressure along with the Nocturne, and you could do like a silent Galio ult, which is kind of cool. And we're going to see Nocturne or Nautilus taken off the board, excuse me, and then we'll see what they decide to ban in response to that.
What could be interesting is if they're picking that Rumble top, I don't know exactly how the Galio matchup would go into the Rumble. I mean, if this Tristana is played mid, like it feels like it mostly is now, you can still flex it.
Oh, the Galio's
yeah, a hard time.
He can go top. That's actually something that we've seen before. Good point. I don't know why I'm forgetting about the potential for that to flex, because we have seen Galio top picked into the Rumble kind of as a neutralizing, a little more weak side, but Galio can scuffle. I like it. I think if that's the case, I think it works really well. Definitely probably wouldn't want to play it into this Tristana. It doesn't sound super enjoyable. So I think you're definitely correct about that one. And we'll see, we do see the Rel taken offline as well. I was thinking about this because Renata is so incredibly effective when you turn the lights off with that Nocturnal. But we are going to see the Vayne locked in pick that you said is pretty famous for this EMU roster, but I don't know. You said it's played top lane.
Yeah, at least it was yesterday's match. The Vayne and the Lucian was pretty good. I liked how they were able to keep them back, but this kind of worries me because I'm looking at this Vayne now and I'm like, okay, that means this Galio probably isn't top. Galio stays mid. You're going into Tristana. The Tristana
could go ADC now.
Annoying. They could go ADC.
Or ADC. I mean, they have so much flexibility on their team with where they can take their picks. Ball State, and now I feel like Vayne locked in blind. Depending on where it goes, I guess it can be flexed as well, but I don't really like it. I think Vayne is such a situational pick. Maybe save that for pick 5. And now we see the Maokai being hovered as well.
It'd be interesting to see here the Maokai support. Nothing too crazy there. Not quite as popular now as it is jungle, it feels like, but still being able to take over those bushes and not allow that enemy support to be able to walk up, get some kind of advantage.
And I felt like they might be missing the Maokai ult a little bit even though the Skarner's so effective. We saw this yesterday. I wasn't a big fan of this lane, but maybe we can get something new today. If they decide to lock that in, and they will. That will be the Vayne Milio. Varus Milio, and
I'll be honest, I was looking at the same thing. I was like, yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, no, because we saw it yesterday. It totally threw me off. But it looks like it will be Tristana flex towards the bot lane. Ali playing more on a mobile, hopping around Yordle. I think this is exactly what Ball State would want, to be honest with you, because I think they got a lot of their power picks. The Tristana a bit unconventional to me, but I think Ali Plane can really play anything. Quokka is going to have that same snap engage that they had with the Maokai last game. They're not going to be sacrificing that while also getting the Skarner. So they got everything that they'd want, essentially, and then looking to the side of EMU, they got that range top lane that they're comfortable with, but the Galio will be going into the Corki. It's a little bit of a tough matchup.
It's definitely going to be a tough matchup for them, so I feel like at this point, we kind of see how these lanes are going to end up playing out. If we're thinking about the bigger picture, we're thinking about these team fights. Frankly, the way they've kind of set themselves up, it seems like it could go fairly even to me. In lane, it does kind of depend. If they start getting fed, then all of a sudden these team fights that where utility from both sides can definitely be helpful. Nocturne just going right in on the back line forces everybody to turn around. Galio ult in there. Then you got the Maokai ult from Ball State. I mean, there's a lot to look at through these. They're definitely going to be hectic, but the laning phase, depending on who gets fed, I think will determine that.
Yeah, if the Rumble can find like a cheeky flag lane to play out, because I think the Vayne is kind of the crux of this comp to me. Like Varus obviously going to want to have that. Interested to see if they're going the attack speed variant again. I'm going to check the runes. Looks like it's lethal tempo, so I'd imagine so. And trade of emotes here. He's got the chicken Galio. And yeah, I think if Vayne is able to hit, there's a lot of tankiness, a lot of potential for her passive, this Skarner, this Maokai. She can shred them, but that's only if she's able to stay up, stay unaffected by this CC kind of wave that we're going to be seeing. Two insane lockdown potential champions in the Skarner and the Maokai. So we'll see if... I doubt that Ball State would let her play in peace for a lot of these team fights.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to be able to actually get in as hard as they may originally want to. We'll see, though. It looks like we got...
bit of a black screen on our end. We still got audio, but hopefully it will recover in a second. Oh, and we're back.
All right. Already starting off a little bit of trades back and forth in this bot lane. Emilio helping out. They got the shield onto the Varus. They're going to continue going forward. The lethal tempo is stacked up. Deciding, you know what, we're going to take this back here, focus on the wave, because he still got a pretty good chunk out of those two.
Yeah, obviously you're going to want to be the one with lethal tempo on that early game aggression. So Varus not going to be too angry about that one. And meanwhile, this is just so brutal. Galio just going to be autoed down, and it's going to take him, similar to like that Ornn we saw last game, getting some resistances online to be even somewhat of a factor in these fights. He's going to be completely zoned off, if not solo killed. It looks like he is going to be in for a treat in his laning phase.
There's a good workplace there at the Raptors from that Corki that's going to be able to let them know that Nocturne's going to be pathing up towards the top. You can see the Rumble stuck back in lane, though, because the Vayne so oppressive and getting pretty low on health and going for the trades again. Flamethrower out, though. Vayne, I don't think, would go up if they continue that.
Yeah, definitely going to watch out for those harpoons, because at a certain point, if he lands one of those, lands his full combo, they can fight. But here, speaking of fighting...
Seems like they popped the Ignite. Was Cleanse used for that? I mean, you might as well not take that damage.
Looks like it was. There's Flash used as well as Heal, I believe.
Okay. I feel like that Ignite was up for like a split second.
Yeah, it was Ignite.
Strange. Anyways,
yeah, it's hard to see.
Continue.
Yeah, we will see what that ends up turning into. Rumble taken low as well. Using that shield, that scrap shield, to great effectiveness. But yeah, similar to the Galio, he's not gonna love his laning phase.
Maokai knocking back the Varus, but immediate target focused onto the Tristana, who's already low. They know they can pick up that Maokai right off the rip, and instead goes for it when they have nothing to get out. First blood going over to EMU.
Yeah, I think that as similar to last game, the sustained damage of the Varus, the attack speed. But hold on. We have a bit of a pickle in the top lane. Let's see, Vayne. No, why would we go back in there? I don't know about that one, but maybe Nocturne can find a return kill, make sure they get something back.
Yeah, Fear's going to be going through. So at least they're being able to get that. Okay, this locum's... Okay, thank you. I was getting a little worried, but no need to fear.
I'm a pretty positive guy. I don't normally get upset, but that
that
made me shake my head a little bit in terms of decision making, maybe looking for another auto. I think we just back up there, take the positive trade, and now Rumble's on the board. He was really getting zoned off a lot of his waves, a lot of his XP, so that's going to get him an opportunity to get back in this game. But not to take away from the play that Eastern Michigan had towards the bot side, just a general outplay in this 2v2.
Look at that bot side. The Varus gets dove on. There's a 3-man hanging out in the jungle, just silently waiting for their prey. That was impressive. Now 2-2, next kill.
Emilio, be careful, buddy.
And yeah, I kind of cast or cursed them once again. And now Vayne also is finding difficulty in her lane. Rumble overheating. She can trade back, but she's taking so many of these harpoons. I think she has to play more carefully in the wave because Rumble has so much kill threat. If he's able to slow you down, able to build up that flamethrower on top of you, you can be in a lot of trouble. Now we see a pretty big goal lead already coming out. Maybe Maokai going for a play in the mid lane. We can't see exactly what's going to come as a result of that. Looks like he was able to make it out. Rumble may be looking for a play though. Is going to find a Nocturne.
I don't know if he's going to be able to make it out of this one. The Skarner on the way to try to help out. Vayne doing a good job walking back here. Now the Skarner's in an awkward spot. They're not going to be able to leave through that wall. The flash has to be used. Flash return back here and finds the double kill. They get their feet and they get a couple more top.
Yeah, huge play there. And it looks like we are going to go into maybe a replay or no? Okay, so we are just back into the game. And yeah, a huge 2v2 there in the top lane. Really well played. I like the Nocturne. Having the patience, getting in at the exact right time when Rumble overextends, and Vayne being a menace, getting this Nocturne incredibly fed, it's going to feel great. Now it's just a matter of time to see if they can keep that lead, make sure that they're not making any more sloppy mistakes, and a little bit of a fight here in the bot side.
Wafflepig, they're not going to be able to make it out of that one. That was well put together. They did commit a bit there just to make sure they secured it, but it's important to secure it. You're still high in that health pool. You know that support is probably roaming at this point. You can take quite a few plays from that. They might be able to pick up 2, even 3.
Yeah, this Tristana pick rearing its head. When you get those kills in bot side, you can just kind of take the platings, and we'll see. Looks like Remy's getting the Scuttle Clap as well. Nocturne here using the Paranoia.
Who joined? I mean, they go in. Zero able to do quite a bit of damage, and Silk just not able to find it there. The range. Oh, okay. They're making me scared. Stop doing that.
Yeah, no, I think this Rumble has a lot of spontaneity with some of the damage that it can provide even when it gets pretty low. And then Remy is going to be spotted on these grubs. Maybe they can push them off. This is definitely going to be an avenue that they want to contest given the Tristana. You don't want to give these over, but it looks like Nocturne too weak, going to have to take a back. Maybe get some vision on it though, hopefully. Like we said, that is going to be a big... they're going to have a large role to play. But meanwhile, more plays towards the mid lane. I believe, yeah, that is going to be the Galio taking down Corky, given a kill. Flash forward.
Oh my goodness, right onto Milio. They still have that tower to kind of help keep themselves up. Maokai going very low is going to go down. Varus hanging out here in the mid lane. Maybe try to find a Q onto this Corky if they stay too long.
Yeah, trading blows now, and this feels good. I like this a lot. Eastern Michigan in a lot better of a state than they were. It doesn't feel like, at least at this point in the game, they have someone... I mean, the Tristan is obviously going to be scary. That's no-brainer. But Vayne scaling, everyone's kind of been enabled, and now they make the right call, in my opinion. Get on these Void Grubs. Make sure that there's not an opportunity for this Tristana to get even scarier in taking down these towers.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get the 3. It was a good call there from Remy to go ahead, take at least one of them, back off while the Nocturne's low. You know, it's going to help them going forward, but they're going to be... Oh, wait, did they get the first one? Did I miss that?
I think they got all 3. Oh,
okay.
wait, no, never mind. What is that?
I think they did get 3. Overlay showing 3? I believe they overlay.
Yeah, overlay showing 3 on Ball State. So maybe, I think the sides just didn't swap or something. Yeah, it looks like EMU will be on the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's just you have to look at that. Because EMU actually has the one with 6 kills. Galio in a bit of a threat of a dive here. See how that ends up. Oh, looking for the kill on the Milio.
My Rumble. Still commits that ult. Tries to find drywall, but unable to. We can see the dives on the top and bot back and forth. That's
but one results in a return kill and one doesn't. And this is going to be amazing for Eastern Michigan because they come out totally on top on that play. They get the kill. Rumble uses his flash, isn't able to find anything in return, and they're able to get to work on this topside tower. Rumble does TP, see if he can, but he might have just TP'd to his death. Did they get a return kill on that? Looks like it's just an execute. So if I'm EMU right now, I am thrilled with the way this early game is playing out.
100% agreed there. They are just... They're doing everything right, it feels like. And even when things do go a little bit wrong that we saw there, it ended up just being an execute. So you're not only just stoked about how you were able to commit that dive, but the fact that you get out without a trade, really big.
Yeah, we're at a 1.8K gold lead. Remy going to be spotted here on this blue. Probably still going to pick it up. Yeah, no issues there. Alley Plane also getting some gold. Still up around 300, just shy of 300 on the laning opponent. But will that be enough to carry the game is my question. Because this Vayne, this Nocturne, all looking relatively scary. Each accumulating around a 1K gold lead on their respective opponent. And this Garner is going to have a really hard time. That needs to get Heartsteel online, a very important part of his kit. But the longer that takes, the more difficult it is going to be for him to be relevant. And now, resources being expended.
Zero really committed a lot there, so should be able to find this kill. That was a nice roam from Coca.
I don't like that flash towards the end. I think you just have to realize that you overextended a bit there.
Oh, now the fight bot lane, but a good cleanse there. Waffle Pig has a chance to just kind of back up. They're not going to be silenced. Alley Plane becoming very low. Drywall has to make the decision here. Do you go on Remy to try to save your ADC, or do you go after the Tristana? It was too hard to call. And another fight happening here mid lane, I believe. Wombat's going to go down, taking a look at bot's side. Drywall just barely doesn't make it out there. That mine on top is going to spell it.
Yeah, trying to use the paranoia to find his way out in the confusion, but the explosive does end up having enough stacks to detonate, and that will be the end of him. And meanwhile, I think that could spell the end of this tower.
Yeah.
They don't have any grubs, but it should be enough just with the damage. But now Nocturne maybe looking to make a counterplay, doesn't have that paranoia available, can find two relatively low members of Ball State. We'll see if they can get punished for that overextension.
Zero again, up far, Quokka just hanging out in his top lane. This is how Ball State wants to do it. Zero goes down again. They figured out the answer to this Vayne, but they are trading that for the bot side. They got the tower, however. Now, if they want to try to get the feats, they need to focus on these monsters.
Yeah, and I think while it is, they get both kills, like we mentioned bot side, they did punish them for that overextension. It is, on my screen, Ball State hitting towers, and EMU, while they're getting these great plays, they're not trying to get these platings while they're still up, and Ball State making full use of them. So it does worry me a little bit, because you have the grubs, you have them for a reason. You may not have the stereotypical split pusher or anything like that, but it doesn't stop you from, after making a really great play towards the bot side, trying to get some of these platings.
And talking about grubs, we can see the next set's up here. If EMU were able to get all three, that alone, even if you aren't able to get these plates as much as you'd probably like to early on, as soon as you have one split pusher on your team, two turrets are gone, maybe you get an inhib while you're making the fight forced on a different objective.
Yeah, BSU going to start these void grubs, and Michigan has something to say about it. They're looking for a fight here.
That's a pretty big Maokai ultimate into the Rumble, going to do plenty of damage. Drywall staying up a little bit longer, just with that 1 HP. Paranoia comes through here trying to find the target, or instead just going for a bit of a disrupt.
Yeah, but they are on the backside. They got to be careful. Vayne off on her lonesome in this fight. She has to kite back. Are they still going to look for an extra contest? Jolene's still in the area, maybe looking to steal one of these away.
Seems like Outlane's going to find Waffle Pig there going through. Maokai gets taken down so far by Jolene. And back of the fight towards this pit, getting low. Ball State seems to be going up in this. The Nocturne isn't going to be able to escape here. The shutdown onto the Rumble. Now they're the ones with the gold lead.
Yeah, that was a really kind of disjointed fight. Obviously, you're going in kind of in the dark. You have that Vayne, but she's completely separated from her team. And once again, it feels like, wow, almost felt like they were in the driver's seat. I think they made a lot of really great proactive plays on the map. They're going to be caught again in these team fights, once again on the back foot. It just feels like Ball State is playing it better. And something to note is, before that fight, gold was completely even. Despite the leads that had been accumulated, it was almost all on the Nocturne at that point. So yeah, a lot of it can be deceptive. Kills aren't everything at the beginning of the game, and Ball State showing that if you hit the turrets, get the blading, play the map well, really, it's just going to come down to who team fights better.
Yeah, the team fight did just look really good. The EMU, that's one thing we said from their last game, just didn't seem to be up to standard. Looking at all these other fights going on, Ball State just always found themselves in the right position. They had the good target prio when they can. They had good ways to go in. taking a look over towards the spot side. This Drake is up. This could be their last one towards that feat.
So now EMU finds themselves down around 2K. Silk here in the top lane. Maybe they're looking for a play on him. See.
Yeah, Silk trying their hardest to get away here. The Rumble comes through, but getting stuck on that wall is terrible. Zero with a nice hit there. Just getting low that they gotta find a way out.
Yeah, and that's mid turret going to be going down in return, and Cloud Drake as well. That's the second Drake, and it will be Cloud Soul. Waffle Pig might be in trouble here as well. Galio though.
The Galio big knocking up 2 here. They were able to grab Waffle Pig. He's not going to be doing as much damage as they'd like to. Does find the Skarner, but Alley Plane absolutely stacked up now. So much damage being had. It looks like Lance able to get back to the tower, but you're not safe by any regard.
Yeah, no, he can be taken down by this Corki relatively easily. Tristana looking for the kill. Art is going to find it. Will she get... Oh, the minions do the job. That is a shutdown going towards the Gallia, but still, now, that's a huge play for Ball State pushing aggressively through the mid lane, and I think you take that any day of the week.
Absolutely. If it's going to happen, you know you're going to go low here. If you decide to back, they just get tower for sure. You want to stay, try to contest, they get aggressive, at least you take one with you.
Yep, so Ball State still maintaining around a 2K gold lead after that play. It went down a little bit. We're hearing a lot of pings. Wonder what that's about. But yeah, Heartsteel online for the Skarner. We can't exactly see how many stacks he's been able to accumulate at this point. Corki's starting to look very scary. And yeah, I think we're starting to see the value of this Skarner in terms of just locking down. Even if the Varus is able to accumulate a good amount of kills, get some items online, either of these squishy ADCs can just basically be blown up immediately if the Skarner decides to tunnel vision towards them. The pick comp from Ball State is in full effect, and Alley Plane still finding value.
Going forward, taking over mid, that's a good Hex Flash over, and of course the target has to be Waffle Pig. They're the ones that have been doing so much damage. They'll ult to get the lockdown, follow it up. It's just an easy kill for Ball State. They're making it look clean.
Yeah, they find that pick in the mid lane, ignoring the Milio completely, wanting that Varus. And now Zero trying to look for a return play on the spot tower, but I feel like this should have been done like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
This is just, it feels a little too late. Now Silk has been able to find the lead that he needed to start being relevant in this game again after being caught on the side lane so many times. They've given him a way back into the game. And, you know, it kind of leaves me shaking my head because I feel like even more so than last game, all the ingredients were there. They just had to find the right way to put them together. And once again, in these team fights, they're kind of left a little bit wondering what's going to go on. It just feels like they're not on the same page.
Yeah. They're still not out of this yet by any stretch of the imagination. Down only around 2,500 gold, it seems. Zero putting themselves in an awkward situation, but no, that's why they're baiting them in. So that way, the Nocturne can ult. The Galio ult that came through was onto Jillian as they were going on that engage, so just barely wasn't able to hit that. Quokka should stay up.
Yeah, still has tools to be able to stay relevant in this game, especially if they make plays like that. Nocturne can punish with the paranoia. You're absolutely right. This is not over yet, but I'm a deja vu guy. Sometimes I read into previous games a lot, so I'm hoping that EMU has learned from what they encountered. It looks like Waka maybe caught in a rough spot, gonna flash, but the flash is followed, and on the other side of the map, Tristana finding a kill more towards the base, and
I mean, did they use Rift Topper? They still never mind.
There it is.
I was gonna say if they really want to, they can just try to race this right now. I feel like they might be able to get EMU out, catch EMU off guard. Is where I was trying to go with that. You follow up the Rift up top lane here. You get an inhib. I feel like the EMU players are gonna back sooner than the Ball State ones do.
Oh, hold on. Maybe a little bit of a
deja vu. Yeah, man, this place.
Oh, finds his way out there. Well played by Remy. That man did not pass his driving exam, but he finds his way out of the base of Eastern Michigan, and it was a close call.
It was a close call. Not out of the woods yet, though, or not out of the jungle yet, as they're making their way through. We can see a big gathering here. It looks like EMU trying to take these top towers. They know it's getting pretty close here.
the towers are gone down near the Nexus. You still have the tier 1 up mid. You still have the tier 2 hanging out towards top. So you got to find a way, get that equalizing play made. Otherwise, if you can't find those now, Drake's up in 15. It's going to be so point if Ball State gets it.
Yeah, Tristan is starting to become the main focal point of this Ball State roster. Definitely going to be someone that EMU is going to try and keep their eyes on in these team fights, see if they can lock her down in some way, shape, or form, because you start to see where these gold leads start to land. I mean, Vane, after those overextensions by Silk, is back in the driver's seat in terms of the top lane matchup, but here we go again.
Just trying to find some kind of pick here. It seems like they are going to find it onto the Maokai. Silk going ahead running back. This should be that tier 2 top for them. Amazing ultimate, chunking them down. Silk, did they decide to stay in? Might not have been the call there. Could have found the pick on Jaleen, but you got 4 players right there. You're not going to last very long.
Yeah, great cross map to respond. That does put Ball State on soul point for this Cloud Soul, but honestly, I take that. They're getting a lot of value. They get so many picks, get the Rumble down, get the Maokai, and now they're getting to work on this inhibitor tower, and I don't think Corky can stop this too much, but it looks like they are going to go on the chase here. Waffle Pig standing his ground, has the Galio ult.
This could be enough to save Waffle Pig. You still have a few players near you to get a good peel going on, so being able to find that pick now, you can walk back. Take the gold that you've accumulated from all of this, especially looking at that Vane really starting to scale up here in these team fights. I don't think they can focus the Varus as much as they want to anymore, because now this Vane is going to be their next big issue.
Yeah, and I think I owe EMU an apology, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I think the players of Ball State, they're legendary in this conference for a reason, but EMU finding ways to remain really relevant in this game. They are stacking objectives a little bit, but before Baron is up, before anything like that, if it's just giving a Drake, it is Cloud Soul, and some people have mixed opinions on. I think it's quite good, but we'll see. They're finding value on other sides of the map, and if they can continue to do that, continue finding Silk, whether it be Silk or other members of Ball State on the off foot, maybe they can continue to make these plays. And that'll definitely keep them in a very good place, but I am worried still a little bit about a 5v5 team fight if they decide to pull the trigger on that.
They're doing a good job taking space here in this jungle, Ball State, getting themselves out, because even though there's not necessarily a fight going on, allowing themselves to understand what lanes they can push, and if a rotate starts to happen from another, if they decide to go mid or bot, it is going to be pretty big for them. It allows them a chance to back up and know just how far they can go. But I mean, we've seen before that it seems like they're kind of overextending a bit in some of these fights.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Rumble may not look as scary when he's going for these plays in the side lane, but when he's in that 5v5, you will see the true value of this champion. Getting a good equalizer down can change the entire game, and they're getting to work as well on this bottom tier 2.
Yeah, it's good 4-stack there. EMU doesn't necessarily want to go in on that. Instead, deciding, let's wait for the Galio. It's a solid rumble drywall boxer. It has to stay back. Yeah, they're just going to go back into Nexus, get some healing. So,
big tool use. Maybe you can use that as more of a leverage to try and reclaim some of the vision in your own jungle. Zero. Ooh.
the flash comes through. Flash used by Zero as well. I think that definitely was worth it there. Galio going through. It seems like they can find this Maokai. Potentially just super big ult from the Skarner. Able to get 2 in that and follow through. Lance trying to run back. Tristana right now damage is massive. They find the double kill there.
Awful Pig though, cleaning up at the bottom side of the fight. Looks like he was able to respond really well. Now Wombat Baby in the area gets knocked up. Can he make something happen? The Galio is just so tanky.
Oh my goodness,
and that is a quadra kill for Waffle Baby. Waffle Pig, sorry. Totally smurfed that fight. We panned up a little bit and we looked back down and he had just wiped all of the members off the board. This Galio being incredibly helpful, supportive, providing the CC that he needed to make plays in that fight. And really well played. It looked like a bit of a doomed fight at the beginning, but now he can use this to get more pressure in the mid lane. And Dragon is spawning. They can try and reclaim some of that vision, like I said. Huge play off the back of this Varus.
This is going to be so helpful for them. Like you said, Drake is coming up. But so is Baron. And you're going to have to weigh that out here. Are you going to give up Soul in exchange for this Baron? Do you think you can take it fast, as fast as they can take the Drake? Probably not. So do you want to go for this fight? Because obviously Ball State would love to trade. I mean, getting Baron, you're still on Soul Point afterwards. They need 3 more. It's going to be a tough call here from EMU how they want to play out this next team fight.
Yeah, giving Soul in any capacity, even if it's a Cloud Soul, like I said, some people still a little, like, they're like, oh, it's just Cloud Soul, we can probably give it. It's still incredibly powerful for a lot of the members of, like, think about it on Corky, he can proc it so often. So definitely looking like they're moving more towards the Baron, but BSU, like you said, has their choice of the lot. They can move here towards that Dragon, they can bait towards Baron. They have good vision control, and they kind of feel like they're in the driver's seat. Jolene, though,
Jolene has to be careful here. Paranoia comes through. It would get them actually closer towards their backline, maybe into safety even. Seems like the Triumph is going to keep them up a little bit longer, as well as the Emilio Rumble all coming through here into that bush is massive. Still coming through from the mid lane here, finds the triple. Continuing on to Lance, might be able to find the Quadra here, following up on that. They got to shut down 2 on that Varus, so they're going to be so much stronger going back into this next fight. Zero still wants to make their name known, however, as they are fairly fed, they're fairly strong. They have good items on them right now, and they still have 2 up, so there's a chance that they can slow down this push. However, me and my big mouth, Zero falls.
yeah, that could spell trouble because now Tristana, 3 members of Ball State getting to work on this inhibitor, and they could take it even further if they wanted. There's only 1 member up, but now the respawn timers are starting to get a little bit shorter, so they are going to take that and move towards the Dragon, claim that Soul, and we see kind of the more obvious value of the Rumble, especially in some of those choke points. You can see that equalizer just rip across all members of Eastern Michigan and take them out one by one. And it's always going to feel good when you're fighting in open lanes. You can have space to move as a Varus, as a Vayne, but when you start to take these fights in these more difficult condensed positions, you're really setting yourself up for a massive wombo combo.
If I'm EMU right now, I'm going to want to try to play careful here. You don't want to get caught out by them. That Vayne still Zero on the way. And Drywall having to hold on to that wall. They're not going to be able to get through. Remy's going to try to get aggressive here, but a nice knockback slows them down. Back to that 5v5 potential here, hanging out in the mid lane.
Yeah, crucially, neither objective has been taken. They didn't take the Soul there, but it looks like they're going to rectify that mistake right about now. Going to burst it down. And now, Eastern Michigan moving towards Baron, but not making any calls. They're just kind of in the mid lane, biding their time, but they do. In that meantime, the Soul has been taken, and now they want the fight.
Now they're getting up close. It's a nice flash. Able to pick up Waffle Pig. Millie, of course, going to cleanse that one. Oh, the ult comes through. Doesn't quite find anybody here, and my goodness, the ground burning at their feet. Lance slowly but surely melting away here. Finding a shutdown onto that Rumble, though. Zero's doing a pretty good job. Oh, but those carries hanging out right next to each other. Splash damage from one to the other could be big. Waffle Pig still putting in as much as they can. Drywall's going to fall next here, as so does Waffle Pig, and I believe this should mark our game 2.
Yeah, that will also be the fall of EMU's hopes in this game 2 here. Played it really incredibly well. Got so close at so many points, but unfortunately in these 5v5s just kind of got a little bit mixed up yet again in terms of where they're taking their fights. And yeah, it felt like a lot of Ball State was able to do exactly what they wanted, even if they were put at an early game disadvantage. They got their champions to a point where they're going to be relevant, and they found success in these fights.
Yeah. The biggest lead EMU was able to pick up there was about 3,000 gold.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point it did go a little bit higher and I missed it because, the trades were coming through back and forth for the entirety of this game. This is a fantastic game to watch from both teams too. They definitely, you can see the improvement from EMU from game 1 to game 2. They were a lot more coordinated on how they wanted to do attacks. They made sure they got numbers advantage fights, looking for tower dives, especially in that top lane, that Rumble. Having a tough time there, but you still come out with a win, so it's worth it in the end to suffer through that.
Yeah, totally, and you're right. Giving flowers to EMU is definitely warranted. They looked phenomenal, making the number 1 seed pushing them to a competitive game really got to a point where it was anyone's at that point. It felt like a toss-up, even though I felt like obviously Ball State's always going to be making the right macro plays, the right positioning around the map, probably has great vision. It just felt like there was hope. I really liked the way they played around the Nocturne, the Paranoia. The Gallia was starting to get incredible amounts of value. The Heroic Entrance bailed out the ADC more times than I can count. It really felt like they found their stride in some points of that fight, or some of those fights, but it really just turned out to be execution when it really came down to it. So I'm excited. I think EMU definitely still has a way to claw back, to find more in this series, and to stay at the ESC championships here at Miami University. But we have potentially match point, one more game for you, and or it could go to more. So stick around. EMU not out of the fight yet. They are playing incredibly well. Ball State with another clean victory.
Yeah, so we'll go to a quick break. Hopefully that trend stays going where these games keep getting closer, but don't go too far because, like I said, that game 3 is right around the corner.
And welcome back to ESC Champions or
2025 ESC Championships at Miami University. We had a really great game, even better than the first one. And I feel like Eastern Michigan is learning. They're adapting. Learn and adapt, similar to that Kazakhs champion that we're probably not going to see played.
That'd be crazy, though. I mean, but you're right. They are adapting, and they got so. It felt like they got so close to that second game. But I'm trying to think about like where they ended up faltering. The fights just ended up getting super close, and I wonder if that was because Ball State just kind of had a little bit more utility, it felt like, at their disposal with their ultimates, especially. Meanwhile, like a Vayne ult you can think of, it's really just helping out the user. The Nocturne ult, yeah, it causes the paranoia you can't really see, but more than that, it's not really CCing anybody, it's not trapping anybody, it's not causing massive amounts of damage because you press that button. And I think that's just what barely gave Ball State that win.
Yeah, to me, I feel like what we saw is now EMU has finally realized, okay, we have the timing on our ults now. We know when to use the tools in the aforementioned toolbox, but they're still getting caught in weird positions in these fights. Like I feel like if they need to know that they're against a Rumble, and Rumble he just loves those little alcove where there's not really a ton of ways to move around and dodge the equalizer, because it can just be completely disastrous, shred your entire back line if you do not play with respect to that. So you definitely don't want to be taking fights in your jungle, in the enemy jungle, anywhere where you don't have room to move around. Like we saw, they took that one fight in the bot lane, and we just saw the ADC of Eastern Michigan able to open up and totally rip through all the members of Ball State when it was open sight lines. They had the ability to really play. But as soon as we get into those like shadowy, spooky bush areas, then it's easy pickings for Ball State. So we'll see. That's another kind of unique issue, but I feel like it's one that keeps reoccurring, whether there's a Rumble or not. You need to make sure you're fighting with your team front to back. You want the Galio, the tank, whoever it is, the Ornn, to be absorbing the brunt of that impact. And when that's not happening and your carries are going down first and the tank is the last one alive, no dice. There's not much you can do. So definitely want to see if they can clean that aspect of their game up. But I think they're getting closer every game that we've played so far. So I'd like to see if they can pull off something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, those areas, you said it, they're just so congested. It makes it so easy for someone to just say, like, okay, well, I'm just going to simply go around through this bush here. They don't see me. I'm on their back line. Fight starts, and you're fighting a two-front war. That's not exactly what you want there. And that does make it tough. So I think that calls into play. EMU needs to focus a lot more on vision. See where everybody's going to be at before you're taking these, because it doesn't seem like they have prio. They didn't have it really on that Baron at all. They didn't have it on that last Drake for sure. And that, I think, is kind of what's messing them up. Because as soon as you get those objectives, that's when you have a little bit more of that open space you were talking about that Varus can shine in.
Exactly. I think it all circles back, you're right, to objectives in that regard, because they had the lead. They had the tools to be able to actually contest or even take for themselves after a winning team fight some of these objectives. But I think Ball State played it so well, made sure they only fought around when they had kind of an upper hand in some regard. So I think they timed it really well with the objective spawning and made sure they were able to secure. I don't even think that EMU got a single Drake deck.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't get a single Drake. So all of those going over to Ball State uncontested basically sped everything up, and it made Eastern Michigan. They put themselves in this awkward spot essentially, where, like you said, they have to choose either between Baron or Drake. You don't want to give either of those up. That's Soul, and they're like rushing around. Oh, we have to do something, and then it devolves into them basically giving Soul, and then they're like, oh well, they're just gonna go Baron, and then they immediately look to the fight because they know Rumble is just gonna eat them up in this environment. So yeah, I think definitely wanting to be a bit more decisive on how they're playing these objectives, how they're playing when they do have a lead, because that is so significant. We saw they were able to team fight so incredibly well, and they used their ultimates phenomenally. I think the both the Nocturne and the Galio having such exceptional plays throughout that game. So more of that, less sloppy mistakes in these team fights, and I think they are off and running to make this series incredible.
I 100% agree. I feel like they really shouldn't change up anything. I think they found out exactly what will work for them. But now looking at that, the other side of that coin, Ball State, they recognize that. Like, okay, we were still able to pull through. We knew what our strengths were. Ball State, they're number one seed for a reason. They're smart. They can also adapt. So now they're going to be looking at this draft like, okay, if they decide to go this range top again, how are we going to find a way to stop that? How are we going to be able to be like, okay, yeah, you can go ahead, you can pick that range top, but you are going to regret it?
Yeah, and I think the range top worked incredibly well. Like, I was a little worried into the Rumble, mainly because you want to watch out for those harpoons. Like, he was able to almost have return kills so many different times despite being put so far behind. And at the end of the game, he ended it with over 10 kills. I think he had like 11 or 12 or something. It really kind of shrugged off the range top later towards the end, but it really did have an impact. He was down CS, down prio, and it was something I think, again, you keep circling back to it. If you play something that is uniquely your style, you're going to feel more comfortable even against a player that is higher ranked than you. So I like it. I wonder if they're going to take that out in the pick ban phase, maybe remove that Vayne from the equation. Obviously, there's still dilution, but I think the Vayne is pretty unique in the way that it can deal with a lot of the front line too, the mobility it has. I mean, it just depends. We'll see what they opt to do if they try to run that back if they're given the opportunity. But I'm sure Ball State will have that in the back of their head now that is something that can be utilized. So I think that maybe that might result, if it is end up being blind for Silk, something that can trade blows with something that is range. Because I feel like the Rumble, you have to play it pretty well in order for it still to be effective. Like, I mean, we saw Silk do, but
Yeah, and in the laning phase, it still was effective to an extent. But when you coupled in that Nocturne, that was really able to just kind of amplify that. Now you're facing a 1v2 situation. The Rumble needs to back up. So do they want to ban, if they wanted to ban one of those characters, I almost feel like the better ban might be Nocturne. It does leave them
so.
up to an option to go something that maybe has a bit more util, which could be big for EMU because we saw those congested spaces. They lacked util other than the Galio ult. That Galio ult was their big thing that was really making it for them, in my opinion. So picking up something like if they can steal the Maokai out of draft might not happen. But I can't really think. Maybe they want to go the Lily again because it can bring some disruption, getting a good sleep.
I think, to your point, the Nocturne was so incredible, mainly because of the paranoia, because it offered kind of a band aid to their positional issues. Like, it changes the way that you play a fight, and it allowed, we saw Emilio almost to make a cheeky escape on the other side of the map using that darkness, and it masked a lot of the misplays that they may have had and gave them a little window, similar to what we were talking about with the Mordekaiser, but on a map wide scale, almost the perfect pick because it really just did make up for a lot of the confusion that they might have because it basically put Ball State in the same place that EMU was in, where they're like, oh, where do we go? Like, we can't see anything. How do we position? And it really was able to level the playing field in that regard. So I really like the Nocturne pick, and I agree with you 100% that if Ball State felt at all threatened by that, probably a good pick to take off the table. But we'll see if they decide to do that, come to the same conclusion that we did here. And yeah, hopefully this game can be just as promising as the last two. I think Eastern Michigan probably invigorated by that close game. It does feel tough to lose, especially when you've been doing well the entirety of, or for I'd say a large majority of that early game. They felt like they were in the driver's seat. So hopefully they can take the momentum and realize that there's been a positive an upward trajectory throughout these games and turn that into something even better.
Yeah, they're right on the precipice. You're absolutely right. They're right there. It's just that one fight that doesn't go in your way, and you're so late in the game. The spawn times are so long that the other team can just go through and take that, which has ended up being Ball State. This might also be a good tell to show how well Ball State can perform while under pressure.
Yeah, I think Ball State. I feel like they're pretty relaxed. You know, they still feel like obviously it's match point 2-0. On paper, it feels like yes, they are in a position where they might be able to close this one out. But also, a lot of this has been yes, on paper they have better players. On paper, they're up in the series, but it doesn't matter. We are seeing that this EMU roster is capable of so much more than I personally have given them credit for. You know, I think that they have shown today that they can rise to the occasion, and I'm hoping that we can see an even greater precipice of that because I think that these are such talented players, And I really think I like the ingenuity that they've had in these drafts. Like it hasn't been as apparent off the bat immediately, but when we start to see how the team fight, it's just something to behold.
Yeah, the team fight, the way they always kind of end up playing out, it just feels like there's just like one little thing that goes wrong, whether that be because someone wasn't quite in the best spot, or because Ball State just recognizes who that carry is. We saw so many times during that their prioritization onto Waffle Pig, and when Zero really started to show up in fights, uh, the target prioritization became onto them in case they couldn't make it to the other.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind for EMU is definitely who they want to focus down. So a lot of the times it was just kind of like who was there, but you need to figure out who's really making the difference in these fights. And it looks like we are going to be hopping into draft here. So we'll see what BSU decides to change, if anything. Obviously, they're going to feel pretty comfortable regardless. But they do take the Ash off the board initially. Another good band. A lot of util for Waffle Pig. Seems like he's pretty comfortable with the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
After the last game. Gwen, another pick to be removed. While I did receive that nerf, still incredibly strong, gives a scaling element. Silk loves it. LeBlanc as well. Bands remaining relatively similar our run so far. The Fury taken off the board. Broken champ.
Yeah, broken champ.
Broken champ, exactly. Yeah, good time. Yeah. Broken champ, indeed. After Riot's rework, Elise taken off the board. A lot of junglers being targeted.
Elise, I feel like Elise could also be like that support band because the Elise is so fun paired with the Ezra, I believe, is like the common pairing we've seen.
Yeah, Pike as well. So I think EMU's bands remaining relatively similar throughout the series. I mean, they've worked well. The games have been playable for sure. Yeah. There isn't one pick on Ball State that really stood out to me. I think they play a lot of different things well. They are going to run it back with that Rumble lock-in first pick. Smolder, maybe the response. That could be ADC. It's being hovered right now. We'll see if they decide to opt to lock it in. I like this champion when you feel like you might be the underdog, and that might just be the complete opposite. Because that is a Kaisa that takes incredible amounts of... So it is going to be the Lucian. So maybe a little bit different from the... I imagine that's going top, right? Yeah.
That would be my assumption. You can, of course, you can change it with bot if you really wanted to. Lock it in the Nocturne as well. So continuing to follow that same vein of how they were last game. With the Lucian, let me take a quick look. I think the Lucian one might have been one they lost.
Yeah, I feel like I said, I don't like the tools of Lucian as much as I do the Vayne, just in terms of how it plays in the top line. It's similar, but Viego might be the response here, more of a carry jungler, but it is going to be the Vi additional lockdown, especially if they want to do this kind of double 80 carry comp on EMU. Vi is just so incredible at locking those down. And when paired with an Ahri, classic textbook combo, charm, and that's at least one champion wiped out almost immediately. So wouldn't be too surprised to see that one locked in. It's good to have the spell shield into the Ahri. It's going to help a lot. The spell shield into any of these champions is always going to feel great. And we'll see what Eastern Michigan decides to lock in for their third and final pick of round one here.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, if they have the top, they have the jungle, they probably go mid like they did last time. The Galio, it did perform well.
Yeah, it's better.
So they are staying in that same vein. And you're up against the Ahri, should be helpful. My fear with the Ahri, though, is those dashes with the ultimate. If they continue doing their very well thought out target prioritization, it's just going to run past everybody and go for Waffle Pig or Zero, whoever seems to be the fed one.
I like that Alistar band showing respect to Quokka and what he can do with that pick. But I do feel like I see your apprehensions, but I like the Galio more just because it was what it was able to accomplish last game, as well as now it's not into a Corki.
Yeah.
And the matchup is so much more favorable. You're like almost 100% sure this Ahri is locked down in mid lane unless something crazy happens. So you feel comfortable locking that one in. It's going to have more benefits with the MR that you're given. Especially, we saw the equalizer just shred through these teams. So we'll see. Waffle Pig now deciding what to take away. Will it be Devaris once again? I think it's a good takeaway. Yeah. He's looked great on it. Struggled a bit maybe towards the late game, but I think he is shown to be very proficient. Will be the Nautilus. That's been something that's shown some attention in bans from Ball State.
I am a massive fan of that. This is what is filling that role of there needs to be more CC that I was talking about for the side of EMU, and trading that out for the Milio. The Milio still did a good job,
I think
with
so.
the knockbacks, but I do think this Nautilus is going to perform a lot better in helping out in team fights.
And that is the Kaisa being hovered here. Another instance, I feel like Ali playing ready to rise to the occasion, using this champion to just kind of dive around fights. If he gets any kind of leader, is allowed to scale, he's going to be the X factor for me. I feel like it is just, she is a 1v9 hyper carry, can make miracles happen type champion. And we are seeing some interesting choices.
It's just the hovers. It got me though. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that would be. I like that set support. It's been a while, but it will be the Poppy. Works well into the dash heavy. At least two of the members. I like Poppy support. I think it's good. It's a bit difficult to play, but Quokka will certainly have no issues with that. And Drywall Boxer once again with the Varus, but maybe it might look towards the Vayne. I would prefer the Varus just because Vayne has the dashes. The Poppy's going to get even more value. I think they realize that and they pivot back to that Varus. So we'll be picked all 3 games so far for Waffle Pig. So we'll be quite familiar with how to operate that at this time. And I mean, again, I think it's a similar comp. I think better circumstances for Eastern Michigan in terms of their matchups. But Ali playing, man, that freaks me out. That dude is really, really good.
That's why I'm pretty excited to see the Kaisa. I'm not upset about that making it through one bit. EMU might at the end here. We'll see. But like I said, I like it. I feel like EMU's comp was nearly nailed down perfect for how they want to play it. It just needing that little bit more with the Nautilus. This is their best chance in my mind.
I would agree with that. I think so too. I think the Rumble looked like it had vulnerabilities, especially into that range top. I don't think Lucian is going to be as consistent personally, but I could be totally wrong about that. And I do like the Nautilus a lot as well into the Kaisa, because even though it is that crazy hyper carry potential, you have that guaranteed lockdown. It's Nautilus has always been a pick that we see into champs like Kaisa or Zeri or someone who's really trying to be slippery, deal damage. You get a guaranteed knockup and a potential to take them down, which can, if that's like the brunt of their team fight, is that hyper carry ADC, you check that box. So definitely excited with this draft. I think you're absolutely right. To me, this represents they're going all out. They're trying to make it happen.
Finally heading into the 3rd game, match point for Ball State. It only shows 1 tick up there. Trust us, it's 2.
Ball State was able to take 2. Is that the Ari skin? The faker Ari skin? Looks like. Or maybe it's a chroma. I honestly can't tell you.
Looks like an invade. Come on. Ooh. Something crazy.
They're going to be spotted. Ali playing in the area. Maybe they go for a flash hook, but on game 3 match point, I don't know. I think they thought the same. They're going to back off here. Was spotted by that Kaisa. So
getting vision on the red buff is nice. You get to figure out, where that Vi's got to be starting, which is always helpful. That Vi, however, making their way into EMU's jungle, places a nice ward, which will spot them out. So both showing that they're going to be starting this top side and pathing down.
That will give Ball State some important information they can use, knowing where the pathing of this jungler will be. And I think Ball State definitely winning on that early vision trade. I like it though. You got to be bold for this last appearance here, and I think the invade makes a lot of sense. Lucian, High Noon looks great. We'll see how Zero can pilot that.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what he went here. Oh, we're going back.
We're jumping.
Oh my goodness, the bot lane, so aggressive. Find the first blood onto Drywall. Waffle Pig going in there, able to find Ali playing. The Ignite does give it over to Quokka, but first blood. Yeah, first blood is going to feel nice, but at the same time, that is a very early dead Ali playing. It's going to be missing a lot of these early levels XP, and the ADC crucially survives for EMU, and not only that, picks up the kill. So definitely favorable for Eastern Michigan, just given who fell in that trade. Lance getting chunked down a bit here. It is nice playing that Galio. Yeah, you are going to go down, but you're still going to stay a little bit tankier. You can afford a couple of hits, let them push up here. Maybe you find something going on with that. And maybe this top lane, yeah, I was going to say, it looks like the health bars are getting kind of low. We might see an all-in from Zero if they get 3 first.
Yeah, Silk maybe hitting level 3 thinking, this is his shot, this is his opportunity. He's going to get bullied throughout this laning phase, but if he starts off with an early show of aggression, that might be enough to deter any possible ganks. We do see Ari moving a little bit, maybe just getting some vision. And like you said, Flash.
Seems like Silk's the one that wants to go in for the all-in. Zero turning around with that flamethrower down, pops the shield. Zero, they cannot play as aggressive as they want to anymore. You were talking about, oh, okay, hold up. I'll bite my tongue for a second here looking at this fight. Bot lane, do they find the pick onto Quokka? Quokka able to make it out of their alley plane. They have the stacks going through. They need to find it, and they do on a drywall. Only one off the next feat of warfare.
Yeah, Waffle Pick not unfortunately being able to trade a kill back just yet, but he's still in lane, still has a health advantage. But we do see Remy in the area, has to be careful not to overextend. And meanwhile, I think Jolene smelled blood, no flash topside, went for a gank, wasn't able to find anything on Silk. And now Waffle Pick going to be taken down. A really great dive by Remy and a great follow-up. That Void Seeker going to help. And that is a kill. And Vi is on the board. Alley Plane going to be happy about that one.
There's a lot of CS under that tower too that's just going to be going to waste. So that's very, very nice coming from Ball State. Following back up on what I was talking about with those top picks, the Lucian versus the Vayne. I don't like it as much. Maybe it's a little bit stronger than I give it credit for early game, but the Vayne just kind of has more potential to peel themselves or to follow up on their own damage. Meanwhile, Lucian kind of is like a all-in champ.
Yeah, I feel like Vayne is unique, but she just kind of has to find a way to proc those 3 autos, and she's obviously going to be feeling better from the trade. But Lucian just doesn't have that. You know, he's still mobile. He still can trade in autos, but they're not going to hit the same. Quokka here just to help push this mid lane in, saying hi. Wombat Benny and Lancer, relatively uneventful so far. I mean, it's Galio. He's going to feel he's got that no magic. So not too stressed about anything, just going to catch these waves. See if there's more aggression in the bot side. That's really where I'm looking. It seems like with it.
Oh, that's a good stop there. Grounded, so they have to go back. Nothing too much is going to happen there. I was focused on that top side. You were looking at bot, I was looking at top. We have good coverage. What can I say? The Lucian is going to be dope. My goodness, they were able to dodge Remy there, so it's not going to lead to too much. Instead, Remy, I think, wasting a flash.
Yeah, it looked like, well, let me just confirm. No, it looks like zero flash.
Just zero flash.
Remy doesn't have flash either, but meanwhile, positive trade towards the bot side. Waffle Pig maybe looking to see if he can find something off of that.
They're doing good playing aggressive down bot lane. They saw that the Vi was up top, so they know they have at least, like 30-ish seconds if that Vi just kind of beelines it down bot, that they can go for some poke.
Yeah, we'll see if that results in anything. Looks like they're playing it relatively safe, maybe going for it back here. Yeah, and really what we want is to see results in the terms of kills, because Ball State's found plays in these lanes, and while trades have looked pretty good, Jolene, the Lucian rather, has looked really good fending off the gank. This is where it starts to matter again. Grubs once again in play, and it looks like Ball State's going to take these pretty easily without any kind of trouble.
Yeah, you can see the prio top lane just isn't there like it was before with the Vayne. That's really that main worry I feel like with that Lucian pick. I'm trying to think of what the favor is of Lucian over that. Oh, Rumble ult. That's going to slow the Nocturne down. Jolene able to still make it out. Remy focused on those grubs, as they should be.
Yeah, crucially no level 6 for Jolene, so not a ton of opportunity for a play. Rumble gets hooked.
That's a solid hook going in, but there's so much damage coming through from the Vi. I mean, you saw that they were the grubs. Maybe you think, okay, you can get that off really quick. Waffle Pig making their way up here. Puts itself in an odd spot. Force use that flash, and that's something that you just don't want to see happen. The Galio won't make its way through, though. It's a good knock-up. They do find this pick on the Quokka. Members of EMU trying to back away here. Ball State not ready to give up this fight yet. Drywall getting low here. Waffle Pig able to dodge these skill shots coming through from the Ari's low. Able to pick up Remy. Silk falls as well here. And my goodness, this is a scrappy fight. And I think it slightly favored EMU in the end.
Yeah, looks like EMU comes up not too bad. Hold on, a flash being used. Wombat Baby flashing in turn. But Drywall Boxer trying to find the hook, doesn't land. It can't get too close.
Drywall is really going in here. Nocturne has 6. They're just trying to keep vision. No, Drywall backed away at the wrong time.
A little bit of a miscommunication. I don't think they're going to have the range. No, and that is just.
Oh, don't zoom in on them. That's so rude.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Sometimes that's what happens. But
next player.
yeah. Meanwhile, Zero falling in the bot lane to alley lane, comfortably scaling, and yeah, it's got me a little nervous here. I feel like while there has been some of those great team fights that we've been seeing, obviously the spacing from Waffle has been great towards what we saw in the top lane, but now, just as I say that, gets caught under tower cease and desist, taken down.
They got us mic'd up in here. They're like, oh, okay. They're talking about them. We got to go find them. Quick, take them out now.
Yeah, and now Remy once again pathing back up, taking that scuttle grab. Silk sitting a lot prettier than he was in the previous matchup. I think you're right. The Vayne just would be a lot more effective in this type of scenario. I'm curious to see why he pivoted towards Solution. Maybe I feel like he probably felt like they were relatively similar, but I feel like we're seeing it's quite the contrary.
Yeah, I think two things could be the thought process behind that. Either one, they just saw the Vayne, they know how plays are going to be ready for it. So let's pick Lucian where it's just slightly different, and maybe that catches them off guard. Or two, the Lucian, I think, has better wave clear for sure. So maybe the idea is, okay, just clear the waves, then you can rotate and still be, fairly helpful at fights. You can still poke down the Rumble, but that's just not quite what we're seeing here, unfortunately.
Yeah. And we are seeing Galio have a little bit of an easier time. Mid make a great heroic entrance in that team fight up towards the top side.
Looking towards this bot side, we can see Waffle Pig looks like they're going to probably go down again. A good flash from Remy here to dodge that E coming through. Drywall trying to find alley plane. Oh my goodness, the TP was good, but the hammer was better.
Drywall Boxer going to fall off the back of that. Another kill to Polka here. And man, I think EMU looking for maybe an opportunity to find something is going to be smacked.
I wonder if they overstay here. I mean, Jillian's just so close. They use the Ignite. Lance got to be able to make it out. Paranoia's been used. Trying to find one pick. Galliwalt makes its way as well. As they try to find one pick, they get one. They find two. Frankly, I did think a little bit that Ball State was overstaying, and it seems like they were. I didn't think that they would fully go in on that. Rumble ult happening top there. Finds the pick onto Zero.
Yeah, don't even need the extra help from the Ahri. Came up just to support. And it feels like one good play by EMU is always answered by Ball State with another cross map. Silk, not really in a ton. I mean, it is just Drywall Boxer. Maybe he tries to go for the solo kill here.
I don't know if Drywall has the damage to actually do it. I think they're just trying to, just stall the back a little bit.
You're right. He doesn't want the smoke. Yeah, and Galio's still sitting pretty in his lane. Has his first item online, and Nocturne making a good play there towards the bot side. But Void Grubs are really what both teams are going to have their eyes on. Ball State knows that they can get that 6 grub buff yet again, and just I think Alley Plane will definitely reap the rewards. He's been just kind of left to his lonesome in this bot side.
They really need to equalize this and get the grubs. You can see they don't want to commit to this fight here. They know they're not quite up enough that they can take this team fight. The Rumble used the TP there, so Silk in right away. That was a fantastic call. Make sure you secure those grubs. They're going to have all 6. And Ball State, they've been doing good with pushing waves too, winning fights in lane. So I'm sure they're going to make very good use of those.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of the champions that they need to effectively 5v5 yet again if they are put in that position. And now with the grub buffs, they're just going to take that and continue to snowball their lead. And it's going to just get harder and harder. It's going to take more effort from that person you see on your screen right there, Jolene, effectively using the paranoia that I think we mentioned is crucial to turning these fights around.
See, it looks like a fight not quite breaking out here in this top lane. It feels like the pot's boiling, but when is it going to boil over is the question. These players are getting so close to these towers up in top and bot, mid as well. It's just we're waiting for one fight to happen, just one misplay, walking up here, the Galio finding it, Paranoia coming through here, targeting onto that Poppy. They are going to fall. Rumble's not going to be able to go in too hard here unless they overstay their welcome. And Waffle Pig finds something.
Yeah, I think, again, using that paranoia to make plays on every side of the map. It's a really big difference maker. Let's see if Lance can find his way out of here. He will not. Remy gonna secure that one for Silk. But Plate's going over. No grubs to make sure that that's expedited yet again. But still, EMU making the plays they need to keep the gold relatively even. And it's not the end of the world by any means. I think the game is still in a pretty great spot for either side.
What I'm worrying about right now is this Rumble. They just got that shutdown. You can see they're up about 1,500 gold, and the Rumble Silk. Well, they had a rough start to that second game rather at the beginning, and trying to navigate around the Vayne and the Nocturne that was showing up again and again. At the end, it showed how just powerful the Rumble can be and how good Silk is at placing those ultimates in just the perfect spot. So allowing that shutdown is going to make them a lot more powerful.
We've seen what Silk can do with a lead. Granted, it was a different champ, but imagine, like, he didn't even have the resources last game on Rumble, and now that he does, he's able to do things like this. No fear, just running straight into the Lucian, and a return kill on the other side of the map onto Quokka. But yeah, it's still another thing that's pretty reminiscent is the objectives. It's just completely one-sided.
Yeah.
6 grubs. I'm imagining this dragon will also be something that Ball State has their eyes on.
I'm really confused right now as to why they aren't going for this Drake. I thought maybe they're going to try to answer the Rumble, but they're not answering the Rumble. They just got the pick onto the Poppy. I feel like they could have probably won that 4v5 if they wanted to start the Drake. But it feels like they just kind of wasted time. They were hanging around. They just went mid and bot, clear some waves, and you've allowed the team fight to become even on both sides again. Yeah, they do have pretty good vision. Paranoia comes through. That's going to be heading over towards bot here. Very slippery, like you said. That Kaisa alley plane makes it out just fine. Yeah, plays it really well, but crucially, Silk does fall on the other side of the map. Big shutdown going towards Solution. And more plays being made by EMU, trying to be as proactive as possible. And meanwhile, Lucian on the side lane. I think was a solo kill. I believe so. Okay, I don't think Julian's going to be able to make it out of this one. However, a pretty solid ult from Lance. And also the fear being super helpful there to, peel that Vi off of them. Yeah, Remy's still in the area. Maybe reading a bit. Alleyplane's got to be careful. I mean, they're getting close. They should be able to take out Remy here. It's a solid flash, though. The Q's being charged up here. They're looking to go back in, and that they will. Going a little too far, though, missing the target completely. Jolene does fall. However, Lance does stay up a little bit longer there. Gets the double. Wombat has to be careful, low on mana. They're just going to try to hold off on this wave.
Now, EMU, I'm telling you, do the dragon. Like, I know Silk is here. I know Silk is in the area, but you just made a huge play on the jungler as well as the ADC. They're going to try and go for the dive, keep it moving. And they will find it. Okay, now can we do the drag?
This is their moment to do the drag.
They are going to get... It looks like they're going for this tower here. Cannon is going to fall, so they don't have... And this is where Grubs would feel great again.
Yeah.
Dragon's still there.
Dragon is still there. I think the back is the right call now.
Yeah,
just because you got so much more gold. They're already back up on the map. You can come back with an advantage. I assume they'll have enough time, but you can see the Nocturne hanging out towards that top side. Maybe they want to trade it for a Rift.
We'll see. I mean, the 6 Grubs Rift definitely does hit different. So we'll see. Again, I feel like this leaves Ball State up with a choice of which one they would rather do. It looks like, again, they're just kind of doing drag without any issues. No vision from EMU to make an attempt at contesting it. And now they could just get both.
Yeah.
It seems like there's just not a lot of commitment. And in the meantime, Alleyplane with the kill onto Waffle, and it's probably just going to use that grub to get that bot tower.
I'm not quite sure what the priority is here for EMU. It seems like they're just trying to clear waves, not quite able to get that back. Zero in an awkward situation where 3 players collapsing on top of them. That's going to be another pick for Ball State. They're going to be able to push in this tier 2 bot. We can see the couple other players that aren't there going ahead and pushing mid. So they're in a really good spot now, Ball State. I think they're starting to take their lead, and they're going to run with it.
We see pings, like enemy missing pings. Ball State is, they doing the Herald while we're on this cross map while we're getting this inner. And they're not. I mean, it's not easy, but at the same time, it feels like they're just kind of letting Ball State take these leads all over the map and not really get anything in return.
Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe too hard of a focus on just trying to clear that jungle and wait for everybody to be perfectly set up. But it feels like they're gearing up to do something, and then it just never actually happens. In these team
Whoa,
fights. That's a
speaking
good
of
question.
that,
This is what I want to see. They made a commitment. They go into alley plane, a target that would do quite a bit of damage, so super slippery, so picking them off right off the rip, very good. Remy trying to go in here, gets knocked up. Galliwalt making its way through. It's a solid knockup over there onto Remy. Seems like that's going to be the target here for EMU. Meanwhile, they go back, find Jolene. Right now, it's currently even with a 3-3 in this fight. Charm makes its way through here. Nautilus has to be careful. They fall double kill over to that Ahri. So volatile right now. It does seem like EMU is going to be going up in this fight as Zero makes their way there.
good fight from EMU. I still feel like there was some communication issues. Clearly, Nautilus wanted to go back in, wanted more, and then Waffle Pig was starting to turn away. I think they need to really be on the same page, because if they are, that could be a wipe. That could be a wipe for Eastern Michigan.
I might be a wipe here. They're doing a good job. I mean, they're making it happen at this point. It's a solid Charm coming through. They should be able to escape here. I don't know if Alley Plane really wants to commit to this. They don't have too much mana with Waffle Pig, but they just need to keep walking and they should be fine.
You're right. They do find a way eventually, but I feel like we're definitely seeing some, like, I want to see, like, them act on a unified front. Like, I think that flash onto the Kaisa was perfect. That's exactly what they needed to start off the fight. But play it. Like, you're in this fight. You're in a winning position. You need to realize that these opportunities don't come very often. You had to invest a lot to get that pick on the Kaisa. So may as well make the most of it. And while they do find more on that play towards the mid-inner, I feel like they just need to, give it everything they have.
We also got to see there, Ball State, they have fantastic macro. They know exactly when to take objectives. It feels like going for that. Okay, they were up, they're backing. Just hurry up, grab that rift. Now's our chance that we don't even have to risk anything, not having to worry about that, not having to commit all those bodies there. And now, I mean, they're just finding themselves, while the gold is even, it just feels like Ball State keeps finding a way to somehow end up on top, which is weird because, like I said, look at the gold, it's about even. But Void grubs, you have 2 Drakes already, you're 2 off a soul. The towers being taken, I think right now are a little bit more even now. Solid fight going through here as well. The Charm onto Zero, and that was just going to be a quick cleanup. Good combo there.
And we've talked about it, but I think the main crux of it is, I think Ball State knows when to stop, or if they do have a bad fight, they know how to reposition back on the map and crawl back and make up for it. And I think EMU really tries to. Hold on, a lot of action here.
Wow, that was a fantastic hammer. I mean, Quokka coming in from the back line, getting rid of that Nautilus. That way, Waffle Pig all by their lonesome gets taken out back into spawn. They're down that big damage dealer now. Seems like Zero just finding themselves back up on this map, but another pick found on the Jolene Lancer up top here. Trying to slow down this push. Wombat low. Lancer's doing a good job. Lancer's the most fed right now on EMU. Stalls for enough time. Zero coming in close. Will they be able to find the shots? I don't think so. Yeah, there's just not quite enough speed there.
Yeah, no trade in return, and meanwhile they're taking down this mid-inner tower and it looks like they are going to wisely choose to stop pushing there. And that's a great example. I feel like Ball State knows when to stop. They take their wins that they were able to get from the situation, and they're like, okay, what else is on the map for us? What is here? What is some standing gold and objective? What can we do to make it so we're even stronger in this game? And I feel like EMU is lacking some of that, thought process. And that's a big part of what distinguishes good teams from great teams. Is knowing what the opportunities are for you on the map. Zero heavily committing towards this. Does he have the damage?
Oh.
He does not. It's going to fall right into the trap and be taken down.
The knowledge you have to have on the champs to know, even though you're so low, that you can still win that fight is very impressive. Seems like a pause has been made here. Maybe something on the technical side, I would presume.
Ball
State.
I mean,
objectives are just so in their favor. Right now, they are the favorite team to win this one. But of course, once we get so late in that game, it's just one fight that could make all the difference.
And we've seen some explosive plays, that flash hook onto the Kaisa, playing around the paranoia. That's what really matters, but it's everything in between. When that stuff isn't going on, I feel like EMU loses that dog in them. They're like, okay, well, we're just gonna go sit and hit towers and like do normal lane assignments, or I don't know. I just feel like they are missing all of these avenues where they can really make those snap amazing engaged team fights meaningful. Like find ways to actually get things that last, get showers, get objectives, get vision. That's where they fall flat, and that's really where Ball State is starting to shine. And I think it's really sad because strictly based off of these fights, there's a lot of potential here, but there's more to League of Legends than just team fighting.
You're absolutely right. It seems like the skill in terms of just the microplay, being able to hit your shots, know how to engage on champ, know how to face off against the other champ here is even. I'm going to be honest, from Ball State to EMU, from what I've seen
Plays
so
up
far.
towards the top side, it looks like. A lot of members. I'm not really sure what's going on.
I like this though, but they are committing. This is something we wanted to see. Is they need to get objectives. So working together as a unit, doing that safely is a pretty good way to go about it.
Are they going to pay the price though? Otacon being started, and they're off kind of in a weird place right now, and no one's really here to contest it. I think this might just be incredibly free for Ball State, knowing that they committed, and the decisiveness kind of comes at the wrong time. Like if you did this when these objectives, these really big consequential ones weren't up yet, that would be an example of them doing exactly what they needed to find advantages. But now you've given Ball State enough time that they can just take that commitment topside and be like, okay, we have space, we can take this Otacon, it's ours.
Yeah, they're somehow still in this driver's seat now. The gold lead about 3,000 for Ball State over EMU.
On Soul Point as well.
Soul Point.
And the Otacon they just took down will permanently empower every single objective that they've taken this game, which is all of them.
And it looks like they're going to be taking another kill here too, as they just kind of hang out in those bushes. The vision control, yet again, we can see Ball State being up in that regard as well. It is what's paying off for them.
Yeah, it really just is a prime example of knowing that there is a lot to League of Legends, and that I often am a victim of this as well in my games, of just like, okay, how can we fight better? But when you start to lose sight of so many other ways that you can be useful and have your champion be meaningful, you lose these fights and you're not even like, oh, at least on paper, it feels like we might be in a good spot, but then you're just blindsided by all of these things that they have going for them that aren't as visible.
Right now, they got to be thinking about this Baron, something that's coming up in 40 seconds. They're moving up. They were trying to get vision here, but the Nautilus all alone, kind of face checking these bushes, get spot out because that vision's already there for Ball State. And continuing forward, they are going to have this fight. Paranoia gets used here, trying to find a target to go on. Looks like they're going to find it onto Remy, trying to block them from getting out. The hammer being used again. Galio already sent out of the fight, and the Rumble ult just super well placed yet again here. Redemption making its way through, healing them up though. Waffle Pig finds the first pick, Jolene getting low here. Wombat Baby, of course, like I said, with those dashes, gets in on that backline so fast. They're in a congested area. This hasn't been good for them before, but it seems like they're picking it up just fine here. Target next here is Silk. Zero finds a shutdown there. Walking back up to it, that's a good Sanya's, keeping up at least a little bit longer here, but we can see Ali playing absolutely popping off. Leave the Temple's made its way through here. Quokka coming in from the backline as well. I don't think any more players are going down here from EMU. It's just going to be Ball State taking them over. And that should do it here as they push in this mid lane.
Yeah, it kind of felt like in that case, like it started off as like, oh, it's another EMU fight where they really were a little bit uncoordinated and they're engaged. But then Ball State started to falter a bit as well. But Ali playing coming up huge for his team, showing why he's on this hyper carry. And that could be enough. They might try and go for more. And they do find that immediately. No spell shield. Going to be taken down. But crucially, the Kaisa as well is going to fall there. They will try and get that last hit. There you go, onto one of the towers. But those, in fact, do respawn now. So if from Eastern Michigan is able to weather the storm, they still have an avenue back into this game. And, yeah, I mean,
the TPs, they're trying to be quick about it. They want to clean up these kills. Quokka super low here. The Galio all by themselves. Lance not quite finding that there. Just slowing down slowing that down is nice. You know they're backing right now, though. I want to see them just hurry up, run over towards that Baron potentially. If you know they're going to be backing, you have a little bit of an advantage there. If someone tries to walk up and put division because they don't currently have any on that, of course they don't know that right now. You might be able to find a Reina pick there.
Yeah, you need to take a fight on your terms. Like, you may as well just start the Baron. It's going to be really hard for you to find this just normally.
Going in with that paranoia, Galler ult again. Hammer being reeled up, not quite finding a target, it seems, or maybe they were flying so fast I just couldn't. Redemption making his way through again. Jolene being the target of there. Wolf Pig going down, and it looks like Drywall is next. Ball State has found it through that last fight. EMU wanted to try to make something happen. That wasn't a terrible plan. Lancer all the way in that back line does go down. Now all up to 0 here. And it is going to be the final kill with a well-timed Zombies.
Yeah, that was beautiful from Alley Plain. Like to see that. And yeah, another fight. Ball State coming up on top. Alley Plain using that killer instinct to just get in the backline so quickly, assassinate Waffle, and at the end of the day, well fought by EMU. But Ball State will advance to the finals of the 2025 ESC Championships, looking dominant in these 3 games.
Absolutely. EMU was trying really hard. I mean, they were giving them a run for their money. They were showing how good they are, using their skill expression on those champs to win a lot of those fights still. But at the end of the day, it was just about those objectives. EMU couldn't really find any to put themselves up. You can think of all the stats that come from that. And allowing you to take those towers, giving you more gold quicker. You don't have to worry about trying to go for engages. So Ball State really keeping their eye on the goal there, and that's why they come out with this win.
And they're keeping their eye on the prize. They're ready to move on tomorrow to face whoever wins in the Northeastern Miami matchup right now. And that should be an amazing series. I think Ball State, it's definitely been a kind of a display of how well they understand how to move around the map, how to play the game. Team fights sometimes a little questionable, but I think they really showed why they are the number 1 seed, just with game knowledge. In every regard, they looked pretty polished. So hats off to them. And EMU, you look great. I think team fighting wise, definitely very, very proficient. Would have liked to see a bit more of a cleaner macro game. I think we've beat that into the ground at this point. But
that's true.
I think that showing off a pretty good display and making Ball State work for it, I think is definitely important. And that's something that you can take with you. You can definitely improve. There's a lot of potential. So yeah, I really liked it. I like the drafting, and it's a great series.
That was an absolutely fantastic series. I believe once this game is finished, that'll be it for League today.
Yeah.
And then if that Miami was a Northeastern game,
Yeah, I
right?
believe it's still going, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yes.
But yeah, the winner of that will advance to meet Ball State in the finals tomorrow. Make sure you don't miss that. That is going to be amazing. That is going to be an absolute banger.
It is. And I know bangers. But we still got more bangers coming in today. Overwatch will be played throughout the rest of the day, so don't go too far. You're going to be excited for those matches as well. And thank you guys so much.
Yeah, this has been Devin, the Doc O'Connor.
Join with them, Zachary Goins, a.k.a. Mida.
And you have a great day.